Still some leftover congestion downtown. Interstate 24 eastbound at the Shelby Avenue exit from an earlier accident. In the West End area, a crash now. Charlotte Avenue at 28th Avenue. And in the Belmont area, 440 eastbound, right near exit 3, we picked up a wreck there. And we also have a crash 24 westbound at Bell Road. Also, Bell Road at Murfreesboro Pike. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. Welcome in. It is that time. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Let's sidle on up to the radio, belly up to the radio station, and let's have a good time over the next 4 hours or so. Thank you for being out there. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of that time. We have the 4 full on this Thursday edition, May 29, 2025. It's episode 819 of our proceedings. It is day 130 of the Trump administration. I love the fact I was watching, and I forget which local news slop it was. I think it was Slop Channel 2. Which one is that one?
This is Channel 2.
That's WKRN.
Thank you, Jay. And no thank you, Weber.
You're welcome.
That's the one with Breezy, right?
Yes.
I identify
Danielle.
This is so bad. I identify television stations based on who the weather people are, and
That's fair.
I think that's fair. I don't mean to besmirch the good name of Bob Mueller.
Yes, Bob.
Channel 2, but they're on. But last night I'm watching this, and I did not bother to pull up the clip. I probably could have, but they don't mean that much to me. I'm watching the news last evening, finishing up some things in the office. And they're running a story about Elon Musk. And the premise that they created within the story was that Elon Musk's frustration with the Trump administration and with the big, beautiful bill is leading him to leave Doge. I quit. And there's a schism between Trump and Elon Musk now that has led Elon Musk to say, I'm out of here. I'm never doing politics again. Where have you people been? What is today? Today is 130 of the Trump administration. When did Elon Musk say that he was done? Day 130. He said you got 130 days of Elon Musk as the head of this organization designed to identify waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. They've done their job. Doge can't do it all. Doge can't cast the votes in Congress. The Congress people have to do it now, and frankly, it's up to the American people to gnaw some meat off of that bone that has been exposed by Elon Musk and the rest of the Department of Government Efficiency. I just find it fascinating that they decide to turn this into a Trump versus Elon schism when it is, in fact, not a schism. Although Elon did say over the weekend, rightly so, we noted this yesterday, that the bill can be big, the bill can be beautiful, the bill cannot be both. And the United States Senate owes it to the American people to cut a little waste, fraud, and abuse out of the bill that was sent to them by the House of Representatives. Speaking of the Senate, we will ask a sitting senator from the state of Tennessee that very question later on today, as Marsha Blackburn will join us to not only discuss the big, beautiful bill, but also talk about immigration, primarily illegal immigration efforts on the part of ICE and the Tennessee Highway Patrol here in the metro Nashville area and beyond across the state of Tennessee. That's coming up at about 4:05 this afternoon. Scott Sepiki is going to stop by. He's going to talk about said same. He will also discuss the efforts on the part of the state of Tennessee to gather applications for the Freedom Scholarship Fund. He'll give us an update on that. And he's going to give us a primer on a subject that we will talk about Monday, and that is the Columbia Dam. I don't pretend to understand this subject. I've not been around long enough to understand this subject, and so I need to bring people in that do. And apparently it is an effort on the part of local Murray County residents that they get a dam. I guess this is on the Duck River. And we will talk to Scott about that. We will have the head of that dam project or that organization pushing for this effort coming up on Monday as well. His name is Jamie Gilliam. Now, we also have a city councilor coming on in the 5 o'clock hour, too, David Benton, who I've never had the pleasure of talking with. But David is one of the few Metro Council members who are fully in favor of the efforts on the part of ICE and the Tennessee Highway Patrol in their desire to round up those who are here illegally, particularly those who have committed crimes in addition to the crime of coming into the United States of America illegally. We will talk to David at 5:05 this afternoon. It is an absolutely packed show. I thank you for being here. Never more important than your telephone calls. None of those folks are more important than your telephone calls. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. You can give us a call and jump in line. We'll always get to the telephones in our show. You can also find us on the super text line, 615-737-9986. I do have a Cheatham County update for you. If you missed any of the program yesterday, if you missed John Rich, go over to the podcast section on the website, 997wtn.com. Find the John Rich conversation. Listen to that. You can also find the Andy Ogles conversation there that we had about this very subject of illegal immigration. And I look forward to you giving me some feedback on both of those conversations. Very exciting. So I start the show, however, with a Murphy fun fact. Can I get a sounder for the? Can I get a horn? Can I get Murphy fun fact?
Murphy fun fact. Let's see.
Murphy fun fact. You got like a little. You got a trumpet or something over there, no? Murphy fun fact.
I did. Let's see.
I thought you did too. I love that. I love that little lone trumpet guy. That plays it off in the background. You know what I'm talking about. Especially when we have breaking news of a substandard variety.
All right, here we go.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Murphy fun fact. Do you know off the top of your head who the 10th president of the United States of America was?
I know he was somewhere between the 9th and the 11th.
That is correct, sir.
But that's as far as I can tell you.
And see, I used to be able to do these. I can't anymore. I know that I can't anymore. But, there's Washington. He was a big one.
Yep.
There was Adams.
That one. Yeah.
There was Jefferson. And there was, and then I get a little lost. Van Buren was 5. No, wait. Where was Quincy Adams? Andrew Jackson was 7, I want to say, and Quincy Adams was 8.
Nope.
Andrew Jackson was 6.
Quincy Adams was 6. Jackson was 7.
Jackson was 7. Quincy Adams was 6. Okay, and then Martin Van Buren was 5?
Nope, he was 8.
Dadgummit. See, I won't.
We got Washington,
yeah.
Adams, Jefferson,
yeah, Madison, got that one.
Monroe.
Oh, James Monroe.
Quincy Adams, Jackson, Van Buren.
Then Van Buren.
Yep.
And then old number 9, everybody remembers him.
Old William Henry Harrison.
Oh, who could forget him? He served for like 3 months.
Something
and
like
then
that,
our man of the hour, John Tyler, the 10th president of the United States of America, served in office from 1841 to 1845. He is the beginning of that gap between, really, William Henry Harrison is the beginning of that gap between presidents that we know about and Abraham Lincoln. Right? Nobody knows. I mean, do you have the list up there?
Yep.
Just throw out the names after Tyler. Think about these guys. These are big ones.
Polk.
Uh-huh. Oh, well, Polk was good.
Yeah, a little bit,
Polk was okay.
Zachary Taylor.
Yeah.
Millard Fillmore. Franklin Pierce.
Oh, Franklin Pierce.
Wow.
Yes, Benjamin Franklin Pierce.
What a guy.
The only Franklin Pierce that our generation knows.
Wow. That's pretty great.
And then James Buchanan.
Oh, James Buchanan. James Buchanan, known by, I want to say that it was Andrew Jackson that nicknamed James Buchanan Little Miss Nancy. Look, James Buchanan very well might have been the first and only gay president.
Yes,
of the
he
United
never
States of
married,
America.
right?
He never married, but he shacked up with a senator. He shacked up from, fact check me on this, Weber. James Buchanan shacked up with Senator William Rufus King from Alabama. I think I have this right, that they shacked up for years and wrote letters to one another for years. And, yeah.
Yeah. Was his close friendship with William Rufus King just that, or was it evidence that he was the nation's first gay chief executive?
Well,
Dun, dun, dun.
inquiring minds may never know. But that's not what that's not that fun of a fact. That's not our fun fact of the day. Our fun fact of the day comes to us regarding the 10th American president of the United States of America. So, John Tyler served in office from 1841 to 1845. John Tyler was born in 1790. John Tyler was born 1 year after the United States of America adopted the United States Constitution as our foundational document after the stupid Articles of Confederation. John Tyler died in 1862. I am here to tell you that over the weekend, specifically on May 25th, John Tyler's grandson died. Not his great-grandson, not his great-great-grandson.
Really?
His grandson.
Wow.
John Tyler's grandkid died in 2025. Now, many of you might be saying, Murphy, you're full of it. I'm not full of it. Sometimes, well, I am full of it, but I'm not full of it about this. So here's the backstory. John Tyler was married twice. His second wife was considerably younger than him. Her name was Julia Gardiner. He married her in 1844 after, well, I guess that's, he was in office at the time that he married her. His former spouse had died in 1842. With John Tyler sired, or fathered, as they say, 15 separate children, including a young man by the name of Lyon Gardiner Tyler. Lyon Gardiner Tyler Sr. was born in 1853 when John Tyler was well into his 60s. And Lyon Gardiner Tyler died in 1935 at the age of 81. Prior to his death in the 1820s, Mr. Gardiner Tyler had remarried himself as an elderly fella. His wife had died in 1921, and he married Sue Ruffian in the couple of years subsequent to his first wife's death. Sue had a child. She was in her 20s when she married a man in his 70s, and her child was Harrison Ruffin Tyler. Harrison Ruffin Tyler was born in 1928, and he died May 25th, 2025, at the age of 96. Harrison Ruffin Tyler was the grandson of the 10th president of the United States of America.
That's just wild to think about.
That somebody in 2025 died whose grandfather was born in 1790.
Wow.
I had seen that story, Matt, that his grandson was still alive, here not too long ago, but didn't realize that the man had passed. But 96 was his age?
96 years of age. This reminds me of the story about the several years ago, there was a story about the last Civil War widow dying.
Yeah.
And this was like in 2018, let's say. And you're like, how the hell is that possible? And she was like 110 years old, and she married this World War II fella who was 80 when she was 20 back in the
right.
Whatever 1920s.
When they did such things.
When they did such. I mean, we can do such as that nowadays if we want.
True, but it was certainly seemed to have been more common back then.
Where elderly fellas were marrying the 20-somethings. Well, the father's got to pawn the daughters off on occasion. Wasn't that what was going on?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And I'm sure these Tylers, I'm guessing, were probably, financially well off, I would think.
You would think.
So hooking them up with somebody that'll take care of their daughter.
Well, I mean, and as far as Lyon Gardiner Tyler goes, he was the 10th. He was the son of the 10th president of the United States of America and the 17th president of the College of William and Mary. So he was a prominent fellow.
Yeah, prominent gentleman.
And so somebody in her early 20s, I mean, it would be quite the snag, even if the age if the age disparity didn't bother you, it'd be quite the snag finding that 71, 72-year-old catch.
Yeah, you figure, hey, the dude's going to kick off here before long.
Look,
I get to inherit all that, you know?
All I'm telling you people is you're not getting this type of valuable fun fact on that stupid Hannity show or whatever the hell they're playing. So there you go. There's Murphy's fun facts to begin the show. John Tyler's grandson lived in Franklin for many years. I don't believe you. Are you serious? 5162 says John Tyler's grandson lived in Franklin for many years. My wife met him and visited his home as a caregiver. What? You got to be kidding me. 7421 says, Matt, where are you going with this 30-minute rant? Are you new to the show there? This is not a rant. Far from it. This is just the way that I talk. Number 2, 7421, I never know where I'm going with any of this. Your guess is always as good as mine, which is part of the fun of the show. I'll tell you where we're going next. We'll give you a Cheatham County update, and we'll also give you a Freddie O'Connell update. Tom Homan has taken notice, friends, and it's time for Freddie to come clean as to what he knew and when he knew it regarding a website that apparently was attempting to dox ICE agents, a website that we first talked about yesterday on the Murphy Show. We'll continue that conversation next. It's 22 after the hour on Super Talk. Obviously, it's hard to find someone that you can trust when it comes to large home repairs, such as your air conditioner. But I have someone that I know that you can trust, and that person is Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. I trust him with my home repairs, and you can as well. Jeff Eddy is going to come into your home or one of his qualified crew, and they will check it out. They'll check that AC out. You know, I encourage you to do the maintenance, and it's not too late to get that done because June, July, August, September, even into October can be hot in Middle Tennessee. You need to make sure that that AC is running as efficiently as possible, and that's what they do at Efficient Heating and Cooling. Jeff Eddy's Efficient Heating and Cooling will never charge you over $125 for a residential call, no matter how many units you might have, and oftentimes it's quite less than that. Plus, they're going to tell you the truth about where you stand on your AC unit. If it's time to replace, you know that they're telling you the truth about it, and they'll give you the best price possible. Plus, they're an Elite Pro partner with Ream. Call 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or go to efficienthvac.net. That's efficienthvac.net.
Well, the Trump tariffs are back on, well, at least for now anyway. We'll have the latest. Also, Hamas says it is evaluating a new U.S. ceasefire proposal. And we'll have some road closures already for the CMA Fest. Yeah, that's coming up. All those stories on the way on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Mr. Jay Harper. Jay is in for Ken Weaver. Ken back next week, and Jay will be in for Joan Jones next week. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you. Chris Weber, I'm charging you with the duty as executive producer of the Matt Murphy Radio Show to go ahead and reach out to Tom Homan, our illegal immigration czar. In the United States of America, because Tom says that he's coming to Nashville pretty soon.
Oh,
you guys hear that? He was speaking with Laura Ingraham on Fox News. I believe this was last evening, and said that he's planning on visiting Nashville in the near future to maybe meet with our good Mayor Freddie O'Connell in person.
Oversight is opening up a congressional investigation. I cannot confirm or deny if ICE is investigating him, but we'll see where it plays out. And it isn't just what he says, it's what he does. So, I plan on going to Nashville in the near future. And I said that from day one, that, we're going to hit every sanctuary city. Everybody that wants to push back against ICE, we're going to pay a lot of attention to them. Because why? It's not a threat. But if you're going to support criminal aliens walking the street, then we know there's a problem there. We don't have that problem like Florida. We got Governor DeSantis 287G across the state. We can spend less resources in Florida knowing we have a system to get criminal aliens in every jail in that state. But when we got places like Nashville who's pushing against us getting the bad guy, that's where we got to concentrate our resources to make those streets safer. He ought to be thanking ICE for arresting the criminal aliens they arrested. They arrested, as you said earlier, a sex offender, several people that are convicted of violent crimes, gang members, and illegal aliens that were deported many times before, which means now they're a felon. We made his streets safer. A thank you would be nice, not attacking the men and women of ICE.
This is exactly right, and it's been a message that I've been sending since the day after these immigration enforcement safety checks happened. They weren't raids. They were safety stops on the part of the the Tennessee Highway Patrol, who in conjunction with ICE had ICE agents with them, either in the cars with them or trailing behind them. And if the Tennessee Highway Patrol encountered individuals that did not have the proper documentation, they handed them over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, as should be the case. Every agency in the state of Tennessee should be working with ICE. Every agency within the United States of America should be working with ICE. Once again, I feel bad for a lot of you people that bought into this idea, this lie from the pit of hell that you could break the law, and if you broke the law and sat on that law breaking long enough, that all would be forgiven. That is not the case. You have to be held to account. Now, I'm not a hardliner on this. I get hell from the hardliners based on my position that I do not believe that if you're in the country illegally, that necessarily means that you have to go back to your country of origin. But it does mean that you have to pay a penalty. You do not get granted amnesty. And that penalty involves either an elimination of the opportunity to become a U.S. citizen ever, an elimination of the opportunity to vote in elections, paying an actual financial penalty, a fine, if you will, of some thousands of dollars. And if you refuse to do any of all of those things, or if you refuse to abide by some of those rules of the road to be set up, then we'll take you back to your country that you came from. Or you can self-deport. Tom Homan is exactly right that Freddie O'Connell should be thanking his agency. Instead, Freddie O'Connell says, they're making our streets less safe. How exactly, sir? And why exactly did a list of ICE agents appear on a government website? A government website was doxing Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, and we broke that news yesterday on the Matt Murphy Show with Andy Ogles. And we're going to talk about it after the news today on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. 31 minutes past 3 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories, a weather forecast, a traffic report. They are coming up, so stand by. The Trump tariffs, hey, they're back on, at least for now, with a D.C.-based appeals court setting aside a ruling that the president exceeded his authority in imposing the import taxes. ABC's Stephen Portnoy reports.
This is a temporary administrative stay granted by the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. The judges of that court say last night's ruling by the Court of International Trade in New York is going to be paused as both sides, both the Trump administration and small businesses and states, put forward their early filings in this appeal. For now, it means the tariffs turn back on. Separately, a D.C.-based district court judge has also ruled against the tariffs, but he has stayed his ruling for 2 weeks to allow for an appeal of that decision.
We turn now to the Middle East, where Hamas says it's evaluating a U.S. ceasefire proposal submitted by U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Israel backs and supports the proposal. ABC's Patrick Reevell has more.
We also heard from a senior Hamas political figure who said that they are considering the proposal, but they said that it does not address any of the key demands of its people. They say, in particular, that it doesn't address the demand to permanently end the war, but they say that nonetheless they are considering this.
Well, Nashville getting ready to party once again as CMA Fest returns for its 50th year. So, more traffic, more travel delays in downtown Nashville coming up here soon. Now, currently, there are already some downtown streets that are closed, one of which, Representative John Lewis Way, there by the arena. Northbound lane from the Demumbrian Street to Broadway, and that'll be through 7 o'clock in the morning on June 7th. So, again, that's John Lewis Way, northbound, the northbound lanes from Demumbrian to Broad. So, again, that's right there in front of Bridgestone and the Palm and that, the Hilton. You know where I'm talking about. That block there is already shut down and will be that way through June 7th. Also, Titans Way over by Nissan Stadium from Victory Avenue to Russell Street. That'll be closed through 7 o'clock on June 12th. And more downtown road closures will start on June 5th. Oh, boy. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. A handful of crashes to report already. First of all, 24 eastbound at exit 54. That's Briley Parkway. We've got a crash. Also another one in the West End area, Charlotte Avenue at 28th Avenue. And earlier, we had a very serious accident in Antioch where a gentleman was severely injured, and they're still working on investigating that crash. That's at Murfreesboro Pike at Pinhook Road in Antioch. And finally, in the Belmont area, the right shoulder blocked due to a crash, 440 eastbound near exit 3. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Believe it or not, contrary to the way that I present my radio show, I don't know everything about everything. And what I don't know, I have learned to find experts that do. When it comes to your cabinets, when it comes to high-quality, customized cabinets in your home, I found the guy. It's Tony Spain and Cabinet Solutions in Hendersonville. Discover Cabinet Solutions as I did in Hendersonville. They are incredible. They have about a 4,500 square foot show space, and they showcase kitchens and bathrooms. They showcase dressing areas and closet areas. Anywhere that there are cabinets, laundry areas, as a matter of fact. They have a space designed to showcase the different cabinets, the different styles, the different brand names that they have in their space. Semi-custom to high-end custom cabinetry allow their experienced team to guide you through the entire process. Estimates are 100% free, and your dreams await you in 3D. They can show you exactly what it will look like before they begin the process. I invite you to join them online at mycabinetsolution.com. No S there. mycabinetsolution.com. And hit Tony up and get him to give you a free estimate on your next cabinet project with My Cabinet Solutions. Senator Marsha Blackburn coming up in the 4 o'clock hour today. Metro City Councilor David Benton in the 5 o'clock hour. And right now we welcome back to the show our good friend, Representative Scott Sepiki, joining us in studio to discuss a variety of issues. Scott, thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
You know, originally I wanted you to give us a big update, and I still do, on the Education Freedom Scholarship Plan and the success of the initial launch of applications. And I still want that as a part of the discussion. But, I mean, obviously, here in Middle Tennessee, our talking points have been taken over with the ridiculous commentary and actions on the part of the mayor of Nashville and some of the response. I'm certain that you have a response as well as a representative of Maury County and beyond. Talk to me.
Well, you know, when this first broke about 2 weeks ago, I came in and talked to the listeners about how this was wrong, about what Nashville was doing and Metro Nashville Police. And then we talked about our state representatives and our council members who were running around chasing ICE vehicles, about how wrong that was. And you thought, okay, well, everybody would have learned their lesson. And then Congressman Ogle, you know, brings hearings involved here. And then you thought, okay, well, everybody's learned their lesson here. Stay out of the way of Tom Homan, stay out of the way to ICE. people that are here illegally, right? Illegally, that we are going to deport and send back home. And you thought, you know what? It can't get any worse for Metro Nashville and the mayor. And lo and behold, it did. And releasing the names and putting the names of those ICE agents right up against state law. Because if he would have posted the addresses, he'd have been in violation of state law. And I'm pretty sure THP would have been paying a visit to the mayor's office.
I have a question out in front of the mayor's office. I questioned his chief of staff, Alex Apple, on this, asking if there was any explanation as to how this happened. They claim, now this was, for those who don't know, Fox 17 journalist Karen Aguilar reported that the Office of New Americans, which is a division of the mayor's office in Nashville, published the names of ICE officials and their interactions with local agencies on its official Metro government website. Published their names. Shortly after their reporting, the mayor's office removed those names.
Wonder why.
And that's my question. Why did they initially get published? They now claim that it was a, quote, mistake.
I bet it was.
Well, I bet they think so now.
I bet it was.
So, I mean, this has obviously drawn the attention of Tom Homan, and Homan now says, I'm coming to Nashville to see what the heck's going on down there because, as he has said from the beginning, you're well within your rights to disagree with what we're doing. Mm-hmm. You can not like it all you want to, and you can complain about it all you want to, but you cannot get in the way and impede the actions of official duties of Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Or endanger the officers.
Amen.
Endanger the officers. And some of our state reps, Representative Bain, going around and bragging about impeding ICE agents, right? You're in violation of the law.
No, and she is absolutely in violation of 8 U.S.C. 1324.
Yes.
And it's my understanding, I have a trusted source within the Metro Council that told me that, I guess his name is Wally Dietz, the lawyer for the city council, threw out hey, you need to stop all. I mean, it called Afton Ben and told her,
right,
you need to stop this. Otherwise, you're going to be in a lot of trouble with the law.
You know, my father taught me sometimes is you better learn to read the room. Okay, Freddie, you better learn to read the room. And the room here is we're going to support ICE, we're going to deport illegals, and we're going to follow the rule of law, period. Please get on board or get out of the way. But don't stand in the way of law enforcement. Don't stand in the way of ICE, who has a job. You talk about it all the time on your show. There's a new sheriff in town in Washington.
That's right.
And the people of this country voted overwhelmingly secure the border and make our community safe.
And what's fascinating, those that disagree with it, there's a mechanism by which you can change that. You elect people that think like you, and then they get to change the law.
Win elections.
Win elections. It's as simple as that.
And we've talked about this before. One of the most important things, and I know Congressman Ogles and others have already talked about it, is Congress needs to act now on those executive orders that President Trump has to put them into U.S. code so that we're not at the whim of another president to undo everything that's being done right now to protect our communities. We have probably the safest border. I'll argue with you right now. We probably have one of the safest borders in the world right now.
No, I mean, I saw the recent study that illegal alien encounters at the California border, and California, one could argue, is the most liberal state in the United States of America, or at least one of the top three, at the down 96%.
Yeah.
Now that the Trump administration has taken over border security.
Enforcing the law.
And it demonstrates that everything that the liberal Democrats in Washington were telling us during the 2024 election cycle was a total lie. Correct. You know, Joe Biden running around just reading from the teleprompter saying, oh, we need more funding, we need more money. Donald Trump's not gotten any more money. He's not gotten any more funding. You know what he did? He cracked the whip and said, y'all go do your jobs. And the Border Patrol agent said, yes, sir, we'll go do our jobs.
And that's it.
And that's it.
And that's it. You enforce the law and call it a day.
I want to thank you guys in the General Assembly. You included Sepiki and obviously your fellow Republicans for passing legislation that does protect our immigration and custom enforcement agents. You mentioned that line that you talked about. I don't remember the specifics of the legislation except to say that you guys passed a law that says if you put the addresses of law enforcement agents publicly online, that is against the law and you get arrested.
That's correct. And I think what you saw on that website was bumping right up to the law and then falling just a little bit short. But I think the intent was to expose those individuals. And heaven forbid that something would happen to one of our ICE agents because people found out who they were and maybe saw them or confronted them at a Kroger or something like that. The consequences that would come from the General Assembly would be very dire.
And I understand that these issues are emotional, and I understand that a lot of people are sensitive to certain members of the illegal migrant community that came years ago, that have done nothing else wrong. And I'm sensitive to those people, too. I'm sorry for those people that they believed the lies that they were told, that if you just lay low long enough, that's going to make all of this go away.
Correct.
And that's not the way that it works. Well, what's fascinating me, though, and I've had conversation, for example, Mayor Jason Cole, the city of Laverne. I like Jason Cole. I think he does a great job. But they held a public hearing last week, and the tone of the hearing was, hey, we're not working with ICE. Hey, you don't have to worry about us. Hey, we're all good here in our community. And I'm like, they never said anything that crossed that line, but the tone was that ICE are the bad guys. And I'm like, no, ICE are the law enforcement's not the bad guys here.
If you look at the list of people that were identified in that very first raid, the people that they removed from those communities, these are bad people. These are bad people. Now, ICE is not driving around sitting outside of schools waiting for people to come pick their kids up. Let's get that straight. And they're not sitting at a Kroger looking and profiling people. They're using THP to make traffic stops, lawful traffic stops. And then when they find out that the people here have maybe identification problems or immigration problems, they're doing what THP does is they turn them over to ICE. ICE is now a 287G program now, which means Tennessee Highway Patrol has the ability to do immigration issues now. We are encouraging, and I am encouraging my sheriff to join the 287G program, and let's expedite this problem in Tennessee because I can show you financially what it's costing the state of Tennessee to deal with this Biden open border over the last 4 years. We've got people in our schools that are here that shouldn't be in our schools. We got people in our communities. We got drug addiction. We got gang violence everywhere now. They're openly recruiting kids, and people always ask me, why are you so passionate about education? Because a lack of education leads to you looking for other outcomes for being able to sustain your life, and that's who the gangs are preying on.
So speaking of education, it parlays it into subject number 2, and that is the Freedom Scholarship program. How would you grade the rollout?
A.
Yeah?
I've been up here 7 years. To me, it's been the best program I've ever seen rolled out where they worked through all the bugs. They had a little hiccup for maybe about 45 minutes to an hour to where some emails got sent that were to the wrong address. They got it corrected immediately, got the notification back to those parents. I have parents calling me right now all over the state of Tennessee saying, hey, I got my acceptance letter. Thank you very much.
Good.
These parents know that this is an opportunity for their kids to maybe get their needs met in a different way educationally so that those kids can be successful in life.
I did have a question, and tell me if you know or not, but if there's an expansion, if the legislature sees fit to fund an expansion to the program for, I think, an additional 5,000 scholarships, will those be first come, first serve, or will any of those be need-based first versus just anyone that wants to apply for the scholarships?
That is the question that I get asked most across the state of Tennessee, and the answer is yes. So what happens is so next year, and it's already hit the bumper. So it'll expand up to 25,000 scholarships. Those other 5 subject to funding of the General Assembly. But let's say we fund them, okay? Everybody. So the list is everybody who qualified the year before is requalified immediately. Then whatever those scholarships, let's say it's 5,000 scholarships are left, then it falls to economically disadvantaged. And then there's a list of things that they go through, and then at the end of that is anybody else in the state of Tennessee. So we're still staying with our premises. We want to help the people who need the help the most. Public school taking a priority, economically disadvantaged taking a priority, so that we have – and, Matt, all we did was we looked at other states and looked at their shortcomings.
Right.
And we armchair quarterbacked them to make sure we would have the best
And
program.
look, if for those families that are making it happen and putting their kids into private school, but they are managing those dollars right now, I feel for you and I want to help you, but I don't want to put you necessarily in front of people who don't have that opportunity, who are in perhaps a failing public school. And I know that doesn't sit well with some of those folks, but that's fine. I mean, you just have to prioritize in my opinion.
And one of the things we're working on right now is now we're starting to get a little bit of a shift in the homeschool community now. Now they're starting to talk about, okay, we're going to watch this for a year and see how far we stick our nose under the tent.
Mm-hmm.
And if we what we've done in the bill was we put prohibitions in there from our ability as a government to do that. If we can prove that to the homeschoolers and homeschoolers want to take advantage of it, then maybe we have another conversation.
Third subject, and only about a minute, and it might not be enough time, but I have some folks with this Columbia Dam project coming on Monday. You and I, it occurs to me, have not talked about this, but what do you know about this and where are you on it? I know it's a big, in a minute. 60 seconds, Sepiki, go.
So real quick, back in the late 70s, there was a proposal to put a dam on the Duck River. For any number of different reasons, that dam was shut down and tore down, and now the Duck River is what it is. We have grown probably over the last 15, 20 years, probably over 500,000 people in Middle Tennessee for sure. And so what's happened is as our county commissions and our municipalities continue to approve new project after new project, there's only so much water available. And so now we're starting to understand is, okay, if we keep saying yes, we've got to have another water source, either raising Normandy Dam or Columbia Power and Water putting another intake south or west of Columbia, or piping water from the Tennessee or Cumberland. We have to come up with another solution because the last time I checked, all of our municipalities, including Nashville, the word is yes. So we've got to figure out how we're going to address that. That's what we need to figure out. What is the best way to do that?
And the good news is it appears that if this is the solution, and I'm not saying it is, they had already identified the place to do it. They had already kind of identified the best area that it would make the most sense. And it's my understanding had built a good deal of infrastructure that they then subsequently tore down.
They were probably 95% complete.
That's unfortunate.
But it's going to be what is the best solution going forward? If it's the dam, it's the dam. If it's not the dam and it's something else, then we do it.
Let's do the dam project, Sepiki.
I didn't say that.
I did. Let's get on the damn thing.
FCC on line one.
Thank you. It's a great way to open the conversation, and we'll continue the conversation on Monday. And obviously, thank you for everything that you do for Middle Tennessee.
You too, man.
There's Representative Scott Sepiki, Senator Marsha Blackburn coming up next. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk about Dr. Brian McLaughlin and what he did for me. And this is not a self-serving advertisement. I just use myself as an example of what he could potentially do for you, because I wasn't aware that I had sleep apnea. I didn't snore that much, a little bit. You know how it goes. But I was not a significant snorer. Well, Dr. Brian McLaughlin and Dr. Stephen Poss, more particularly, told me, Murphy, you might have sleep apnea, and you're just one of the 20 to 25% of our patients who don't snore significantly. Well, lo and behold, I did, and I do. And I got my FDA-approved oral device. I put it in, and now my sleep apnea has decreased. My breathing throughout the night is better, and I don't wake up in fits and starts, and I sleep through the night, and I have more energy as a result. You could be the next patient of the Dr. Brian McLaughlin Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. They're in-network for most insurance plans in the state of Tennessee, and they have locations in Murfreesboro and Brentwood. Call them today and start your journey by going to TennesseeSleep.com. That's TennesseeSleep.com.
Hamas says it is evaluating a new ceasefire proposal, and a shooting suspect who's a convicted felon finally arrested in Springfield, Tennessee. We'll have those stories and more coming up at 4 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 4 o'clock, or just about 4 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll get to Jay Harper's newscast coming up in moments, and Senator Marsha Blackburn coming up after that to speak on the matter of Middle Tennessee ICE enforcement of our immigration laws. What we have to say about that. Freddie O'Connell's, well, he seems to be interfering with that process to a certain degree. We will talk to her about that and perhaps get into the big, beautiful bill. That is all to come on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Just getting underway. 1 hour down, 3 to go. It's the Murphy Show on Super Talk.
Good afternoon. It's 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories, a weather forecast, a traffic report. They are both on the way. Hamas says it's evaluating a U.S. ceasefire proposal. It's a new one that was submitted by U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Israel backs and supports the initial proposal, but not necessarily what may come after a truce. Here's ABC's Patrick Reevell to explain.
This proposal that has been put forward by Steve Witkoff would basically see a 60-day temporary ceasefire in exchange for Hamas releasing some hostages. And again, during that truce, there would then be discussions on how to permanently end the war. But so far, there is no confirmation. Also, we should say no confirmation from Israel that it has even agreed to that proposal. So for now, there's an enormous amount of uncertainty. But we are seeing at least some movement and some suggestion that something perhaps could be happening.
Back here in Middle Tennessee, a suspect was arrested last night in Springfield for a September 2024 shooting, which left a man injured. The suspect is a convicted felon, Adonis Ellis, 23 years of age. That's according to Metro Nashville police. He's accused of having an altercation with a 43-year-old man. Police say it escalated, and then Ellis shot the man. The victim did survive. Ellis was taken into custody for outstanding warrants related to the shooting. Additionally, he was convicted of robbery in July of last year and was sentenced at that time to 6 years of probation. Well, now Ellis is charged with attempted homicide, reckless endangerment, possession of a weapon during the commission of a felony, and being a felon in possession of a weapon. He was arrested on a $650,000 bond. And now some entertainment news with ABC's Andrea Dresdale.
It's been 10 years since the hit musical Hamilton opened on Broadway, and now many of the original cast members are reuniting for a performance at this year's Tony Awards. Lin-Manuel Miranda, Daveed Diggs, and Leslie Odom Jr. are among those set to participate. The Tonys air Sunday, June 8th on CBS.
We're back in the 10.
Good news for people with a sweet tooth. The Great American Baking Show on Roku has been renewed for a 4th season. Andrew Reynolds is also joining Casey Wilson as the show's new co-host. The show's spin-offs Big Game, Holiday Special, and Celebrity Summer are all getting new seasons, too.
Now we've got a real case to solve.
Thursday Murder Club is coming to Netflix this August. The movie, starring Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, and Ben Kingsley, is based on the popular book series about a group of retirees who become amateur detectives. And Oscar and Grammy-winning singer Melissa Etheridge is 64 today.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. We do have an injury accident being reported. Armory Drive, just south of Foster Creighton Drive. In Madison now, Gallatin Pike North, just south of Cumberland Avenue. We picked up an accident. Murfreesboro Pike at Pinhook Road. That's in Antioch. We had a very serious accident there earlier today, and there are still law enforcement is still there and on the scene investigating things, so you may encounter some delays in that area. In East Nashville, we've also got a crash, Dickerson Pike at Trinity Lane. And as we make our way out to Dixon, finally, I-40 eastbound between exits 163 and 162. That's kind of a big stretch there, but anyway, there's a wreck in the middle of all that, so please be on the lookout. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Welcome back. It's the Matt Murphy Radio Show, second hour right now, 4:08. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Obviously, we continue to cover the fallout of the ICE efforts in the city of Nashville in the metro region, along with the Tennessee Highway Patrol. To speak to this matter, well, latest developments are this. Obviously, Freddie O'Connell, the mayor of Nashville, stepped out and had a few things to say negatively about the efforts on the part of the Tennessee Highway Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. That's one thing. But now we are learning that it is possible that the city of Nashville is actually funding illegal alien activity. And secondarily, the possibility exists that they intentionally attempted to dox ICE agents, per the reporting of Fox 17. According to Fox 17, there were names on the Office of New Americans website, which is a part of the official Metro government website, that was outing ICE agents. The mayor's office now claims that that was a, quote, mistake, and that opens up a Pandora's box of additional questions. And I'm not alone in those questions. Senator Marsha Blackburn has a lot of questions, too, saying it's dangerous and reckless for Freddie O'Connell to release information that puts federal, state, and local law enforcement officers in harm's way. Toward that end, we are joined by Senator Marsha Blackburn this afternoon to speak on this matter. Senator, thank you for your time. Good afternoon. I hope you're well.
I am doing well, and we are hard at work on this issue and trying to bring some clarity to exactly what has happened. I can say this, Matt, it is clear that the mayor has picked sides in this, and he is going to protect illegal immigrant criminals, and that he cares more about protecting those criminal illegal aliens than he does about protecting lawful legal residents. And what we're hearing is that they have used your tax dollars to help these illegal aliens, and that the people of Nashville, we know, never voted for their money to be used in this way for protection or for funding their activities. And he is trying to turn Nashville, unfortunately, what it appears is he's trying to turn it into a sanctuary city. And as we know, it is illegal. It's against the law to have a sanctuary city in the state of Tennessee. So I'm sure our Attorney General will have something to say about that. And then to the point you were just making, he is putting the lives of our ICE agents and our HSI agents at risk. We know from Homeland Security that attacks on these ICE agents have increased over 400%, and this makes the issue worse.
Have you, or would you be willing to reach out to the mayor to figure out exactly what his office was thinking? They claim that this release of these names on the official Metro website was a, quote, mistake. I don't know that passes muster with me, Senator. What about you?
Well, and we are looking forward to getting information. We're working with the DHS right now. My team has been working with them today. We're trying to figure out exactly who all they have revealed the names of, if any of those were undercover, getting to the bottom of some of this. And yes, I would love to hear from the mayor. The problem that you've got is the list was put out there, the names were released. It is now public record, and even though they've taken it down and said it was a mistake, for these individuals that are law enforcement, Matt, the damage is done that is there. And for individuals that are in this country illegally that have committed crimes, they should be deported. Illegal is illegal, and we have to abide by the rule of law. Now, everybody is not going to like everything that is in law, but the point is, if you come to this country illegally, you have committed a crime. If you are in this country illegally and you commit a crime and you have been apprehended or withheld, or you have been deported and you come back again, then you are again in violation of the law. And we have heard from people all over this state, and Tennesseans in droves have spoken up. Every survey, Election Day, November 5th, every survey that has continued, Matt, they say, we do not want these criminal illegal aliens, these Tren de Agua gang members, these MS-13 gang members in our communities. Let's get them out. So the people in general and by a large majority have supported the work that ICE and Homeland Security and those agents are doing. And it is dangerous, it is reckless to put these individuals in harm's way.
Senator, to put a fine point on this, if it is determined through the investigation that the mayor's office and Freddie O'Connell himself violated Tennessee or federal law, are you calling for him to resign?
I think that what we need to do, first of all, is figure out exactly what they did and get to the finer points of that. The Senate, I'm pushing for the Senate to hold an investigation, and not only into Mayor O'Connell, but then also you need to be looking at all these blue city mayors that have done similar situations, Matt, and then we'll get to how the city of Nashville wants to proceed. The point remains, you cannot be a sanctuary city in this state. You cannot put the names of law enforcement officers out there and put them in harm's way and at risk. And people have not voted to have their tax dollars used to help criminal, illegal aliens. And those are the things that we know. We are going to continue to work on this. We are hopeful that the deportations are going to continue and that we are able to remove every single one of these criminal, illegal aliens from our state. They all need to be removed. And I am just not going to sit here and let this shaming of law enforcement officers, trying to act like the law enforcement officers are criminal when they're the ones trying to clean up the crimes that are taking place.
100%.
And we all know that Tren de Agua is in our city and in our state. And we know that they're in the human trafficking. And for goodness sakes, when I talk to people, they are they are comforted in knowing that law enforcement is that they are going to get these people rounded up, that they're going to get these gangs out of here, that they are going to work to restore law and order and hold these drug traffickers and sex traffickers and human traffickers to account.
I promised I'd get you out of here at 4:15, and I'm a little late, but I do have one question unrelated to the immigration front, and it's a simple one, Senator. Are you hopeful in the Senate with the big, beautiful bill that we can squeeze more deficit savings and more spending reductions out of this in the Senate before it gets back to the House for reconciliation?
Yes, indeed, I am. As we have talked before, our budget number in the Senate is $6.5 trillion. We want to cut We want to cut a total of $2 trillion. The House cut $1.5 trillion.
Very good.
And here's the thing: let's not cap what we are able to cut and save. Let's cap what we're going to spend. And when I was talking with the president and working with him on Monday on some of this, I told him our goal is to hit that $6.5 trillion number this year, so that over the next year is we're able to codify a lot of the DOGE cuts, which of course we can't do in a reconciliation bill, that we can hit his goal of a balanced budget next year. So that is the path that the Senate is working on. So you'll see us doing some additional savings for taxpayers and cutting more waste, fraud, and abuse that is embodied in the federal budget.
Senator, thank you so much for your time and your leadership, and we will talk to you again next time. Take care.
You got it. Take care.
All right. There's Marsha Blackburn joining us for a few moments. I promised to get her out of here at 4:15, and I was only about 3 minutes late. So that's actually pretty good for me. That's a win.
That's a gold star.
I mean, I think that's a win for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's 18 after the hour. We'll reflect on that in a moment. I had to get the question in about the big, beautiful bill. Yes, I'm aware. I asked a direct question. I didn't quite get a direct answer on the Freddie O'Connell front, but I'm going to talk about that in just a moment and maybe why she believes that it's a little too premature. I would say this: if Freddie O'Connell has violated any laws, state or federal, then we ought to start calling for his resignation, because it's ridiculous that he's making our law enforcement agencies, the men and women that put on the badge, the bad guys, and the people that have broken the laws, the good guys. I mean, we can feel bad for these people and still respect the fact that they broke the law, and they have to be held accountable to breaking the law. I feel bad for some of these folks. I feel rough for them, but I'm not the one that lied to them. And that's the deal. When you get into these conversations in your homes, in your places of business, with people that are sympathetic to the plight of the illegal aliens in the United States of America, those that have not violated the laws, perhaps those that are not the gangbangers, those that are not the MS-13 types or the Tren de Aragua types, those that aren't the criminal element, that are just coming here trying to make a quote-unquote better life for themselves and broke the law to do it. You tell those folks when you get into those conversations that you feel bad for them too, and that you're sorry that people lied to them. But they got lied to when they were told that if they just sat around and laid low for long enough, that everything would be forgiven with regard to breaking the law. That's not the way that the law works. You can't rob the bank and just lay low for long enough. You have to pay some form of penalty. The question is this: what will the penalty be? And I'm willing to work that out. I'm willing to have those conversations. I am not suggesting for a moment that we're going to deport all people who came here illegally, no matter when that happened. But a penalty has to be paid for the law breaking that happened. It is 20 after the hour on Super Talk. The Wellness Institute of Nashville has been a godsend to so many people in Middle Tennessee. Dr. Kevin Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, and the rest of the team at the Wellness Institute of Nashville know what pain is like. They understand because they talk to people who are in pain on a daily basis. They also understand what a big decision something like surgery is. You don't want a surgical option to be number one or number two on your list. You want to find out if you can manage the pain or eliminate the pain through non-surgical spinal decompression beforehand. And they have it at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. As a matter of fact, I made the switch because of the modern techniques that they utilize at the Wellness Institute, and they have 47% off right now in honor of our 47th president of the United States. That's right, 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression right now at the Wellness Institute. It has been a godsend to me with my lower back issues, and I think it will be a godsend to you too. Give them a call today and schedule that appointment, 615-246-5009, 246-5009, or go to painisbad.com. That's painisbad.com. My name is Matt Murphy, and the Wellness Institute of Nashville has my seal of approval.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
The Trump tariffs are back, at least for now anyway. And CMA Fest is coming, and with that, some downtown road closures, which have already begun. We'll fill you in on that. We'll also have today's closing money news. That's coming up at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. 25 minutes after the hour. Your calls, 615-737-9986. If you'd like to get involved in the show, obviously the main topic of conversation has been one that we've been discussing for the better part of 2 weeks now. That is the effort on the part of Tennessee Highway Patrol and Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And frankly, it feels as if Tom Homan is speaking directly to Freddie O'Connell in a lot of ways. Tom Homan speaking just yesterday on this matter of mayors or sanctuary areas interfering or impeding the ability for ICE and immigration to do their job? This is what he has to say.
The assaults on ICE officers are high. The doxing of ICE officers are at an all-time high. And people always complain, some of you here say, why are they wearing masks? Because they're trying to protect themselves and their families. They got a dangerous job to do, and they're being doxed every day across this country. I've experienced myself 100 times, but I'm willing to take that because of the position I hold. And, we're not running a popularity contest. We're trying to enforce the laws enacted by Congress, doing it in a smart, effective way. So, yeah, the results are up, but it won't be tolerated. We've already shown you put a hands on an ICE officer, you can be prosecuted to the highest extents of the law. So we're not playing with that, with any threats against ICE officers. Doxing, we're going to look at doxing. We're going to take action on that also.
Sounds like he's speaking directly to the mayor of the city of Nashville, doesn't it? Now, I have a message out, a text message out to the mayor's office asking for some clarity. In the interest of full disclosure and attempting to be as fair as I possibly can to good old Freddie, feckless Freddie. O'Connell's office claims that the published data was a, quote, mistake. U.S. Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin rejected such a claim, adding that she hopes the mayor, quote, faces consequences, end quote, for his efforts, which she said put ICE agents in harm's way. There's zero chance that it was a mistake, and there will be repercussions. Our ICE enforcement officers are already facing a 413% increase in assaults against them, and O'Connell's essentially handing over intelligence to these criminal gangs so they can target our ICE enforcement officers. It's wrong. It's beneath the city of Nashville. I hope he will face consequences. The mayor might. Joshua wants the text number. It is, I'm texting his, I forget if Alex is his chief of staff or his communications director, but either way, I have Alex Apple on speed dial, and I texted him. I'll tell you exactly what I said. I said, in the interest of fairness, has the mayor's office issued a statement as to why ICE agent names appeared on the web? I know they've been taken down, and I believe the language used was it was a, quote, mistake. Do you have anything further on this matter? And I've not heard back. I have a difficult time understanding how it was a mistake. Is it a mistake that the city of Nashville, through a variety of different platforms and budgetary procedures, is ultimately funding the Belonging Fund, which, in effect, is funding the legal costs of illegal aliens who are currently in our city? I don't believe that that's the function of the taxpayer dollar, regardless of whether taxpayers agree with the mayor or not. And I would suggest that most taxpayers do not. Freddie is pandering to a minuscule portion of his base. He is pandering to Salemtown and Germantown and East Nashville and some of these other areas, these liberal enclaves in a community that is of the mindset that I present to you on a daily basis, and that is illegal means illegal. And certainly, even if you disagree with it, I do not believe that the majority of the city of Nashville would agree with the idea of outing ICE agents. Why were these agents outed is the question. Fox 17 originally had the story. Karen Aguilar should be applauded for her report that the Office of New Americans published the names. Fox 17 discovered this first. Andy Ogles yesterday made us aware of it, and we reported on it immediately following being made aware. They made information on the ICE interactions with emergency services department like the Metro Nashville Police Department public, which includes their names. Mayor O'Connell said the information released to the public is for, quote, transparency. So I love how they now they're changing their story, right? Initially, he says it was in the interest of transparency. Now they are suggesting that it was a mistake. Well, which was it, sir? Which was it? And why do you need the names of the ICE agents to begin with? They are not violating the law. The illegal aliens are violating the law. It is 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yes, it is 4:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A full forecast, a traffic report are both on the way. Well, the seesaw of tariff rulings continued today with a federal appeals court allowing President Trump to continue collecting tariffs under an emergency powers law, arguing that the move is critical for the country's national security. The ruling temporarily stops the order from a federal trade court from yesterday that said Trump exceeded his powers when he arbitrarily imposed tariffs, starting a trade war. ABC's Christiane Cordero tells us the Trump administration got what it wanted from the appeals court.
This appealing does effectively what it asked the court to do, which was put this on ice and delay enforcing it, even going as far as to say that it would be a national security threat to essentially get in the way of the president's negotiations as they're happening right now, potentially hinting at a change in balance, so to speak, as he negotiates with China, the European Union, and other major trading partners.
Well, pretty soon it's going to be a big party in Nashville as CMA Fest returns. It's actually the 50th year for CMA Fest this year. So as if we didn't have enough traffic and travel delays in downtown Nashville, yeah, we're gonna get to have a lot of fun here in the next couple of weeks. We've got some street closures already for CMA Fest, currently closed. They closed it all this morning at 7 o'clock, what I'm about to get to here. Representative John Lewis Way, the northbound lane from Demumbrian Street all the way to Broad. That's right there next to the Bridgestone Arena, over there by the Hilton. That block there, that's already shut down and will be so through 7 o'clock in the morning on June 7th. Also by Nissan Stadium, Titans Way from Victory Avenue to Russell Street, that's shut down already and will be so through the 12th of June. And they'll start closing some more roads on June 5th. Oh, boy. With today's closing money news now, let's get to this report from Wayne Cabot.
Stocks post some modest gains today as confusion over the fate of President Trump's reciprocal tariffs loom large over investors. The tech-heavy NASDAQ also receiving a boost from strong earnings, including chipmaker NVIDIA reporting a 75-point gain. The Dow rising 117 points and the S&P posting a 23-point gain. President Trump met with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell Thursday, with the White House later criticizing Powell on his decision to stand firm on lowering interest rates this summer. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called the decision a mistake and says it will put the U.S. at an economic disadvantage to China and other countries. JetBlue and United Airlines unveiling their new Blue Sky partnership that will allow customers from both airlines to apply for bonus miles and loyalty benefits between the two, including priority boarding, complimentary access to preferred seats, and same-day flight changes starting this fall.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. Accidents and stalled vehicles leading our traffic report here. 2nd Avenue South, just south of Broadway. We've got a wreck there near the riverfront. And a stalled vehicle, Briley Parkway northbound, near exit 25. It's blocking the right lane. We're also looking at a blocked right lane due to a stall, 24 eastbound at exit 49. That's over on the East Bank. And Armory Drive south of Foster Creighton Drive, that's an injury crash. And another injury accident, Gallatin Avenue at Granada Avenue. Traffic, it comes at you every 10 minutes, every afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Grace Point Healthcare is affordable and convenient medicine delivered in a comprehensive fashion, the old-fashioned way. That means that no one, but nobody, no organization, no group of people get in the way between you and your doctor in terms of what you believe is the right path of action for you in any given circumstance. They are a direct pay primary care provider. That means that all of your treatment decisions are made between you and the doctors and the medical staff at Grace Point Healthcare. That's the way it should be, friends. And you know exactly what you're paying up front. The basic Smart Care plan is just $69 a month. That includes free office visits and free basic labs and diagnostics. And whether you're paying by the visit or you enroll in the Smart Care plan, you can find yourself in the office the same day or next day when you call 599-6868. That's 599-6868. Grace Point Healthcare is a military veteran-owned practice. I absolutely love that. They believe in treating naturally whenever possible. I love that, too. That means they don't believe in just prescribing a drug for the symptom. They want to get to the root cause of the problem. They want to make you better. Grace Point Healthcare, exceptional medicine that you can afford. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. If you consider yourself pro-life, I want a wake-up call for you. Despite the overturning of Roe v. Wade, overall abortions increased to nearly 1% last year. What does that look like? It translates to over 100,000 additional babies' lives lost, totaling an estimated 1 million, over 1 million, as a matter of fact. Every one of these lives is precious. The Ministry of Preborn and the preborn clinics, they're on the front lines, advocating for those beautiful souls, for those who have never had a chance to grow up. Preborn's network of clinics are strategically located in the country's highest abortion areas, ready to support women making decisions about their baby's future. And they do it with love, and they do it with hope, and they do it with ultrasound. It is a statistical fact that when a woman sees the ultrasound, when she hears her baby's heart beating, she is more than double likely to have that baby and allow it to grow up. Once she hears that heartbeat, her heart is changed. Preborn rescued over 67,000 babies. Please last year alone, please consider giving $28 for an ultrasound or $140 for 5 ultrasounds. Whatever you can give will certainly help. Dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or visit preborn.com/Murphy. Preborn.com/Murphy. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is Matt Murphy and you. You're welcome to join in. No waiting. Open phone lines right now. I'm a little surprised more people. Well, maybe more people just aren't surprised at what Freddie O'Connell does anymore. I was a little bit surprised, and I'll say this. I asked the question, asked and answered, and I get to ask the questions. I don't get to decide how they are answered, folks. You get to hear it for yourselves when we have officials like Senator Marsha Blackburn on the show. And I ask the question, and I will ask the question of David Benton, who is with the Metro Council, when he comes on with us at 5:05 or thereabouts. If it is determined that Freddie O'Connell violated the law, federal or state law, should he resign? Now, I do not suspect, although many of you want it to happen if your super texts are any indication, I don't expect that there will be any criminal charges forthcoming with Freddie O'Connell. I just don't. I'm not telling you whether I think there should be or not. I'm telling you what I think will happen, not what I would want to happen necessarily. But I do believe there's a question as to whether or not he has violated his oath. I think that's fair. It is absolutely a fair question to expect that Freddie O'Connell will stand before the people of Davidson County, the people that elected him to represent them, and explain to us, all of us, how it came to be that ICE agent names were on this website. Now, some on the super text line have said, well, you know, if you know anything about building or changing websites, then you would know it's impossible for them to dox ICE agents by accident. It's completely intentional. And then on the other side of that, there are some saying, well, Freddie O'Connell's not directly responsible for this. Some web administrator or IT guy did this. Well, I think both of these things, I think one of these things is true and one not so much. Because whether or not Freddie was responsible for putting these names on this website, bottom line is this: he's the guy that changed the executive order. It's executive order number 30, and it demands that any and all interactions between Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Metro Nashville Police Department, the Metro Nashville Fire Department, or any other agency of Metro Nashville, that they have to immediately report. Those agencies have to report immediately directly to the mayor's office. Why? For what purpose? Why does the mayor have to know immediately when the Metro Nashville Police Department engages with a federal agency like ICE? Well, apparently it's so that they can get the information up on the website as quickly as possible to alert. To alert who? Who are we? Think about this for a moment. Freddie says that Executive Order 30 is for, quote, transparency. Transparency for whom? Lawbreakers. People engaging in lawbreaking. That's the only answer. Who else needs to know that information immediately? So, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, picks up the phone, and I'm making a scenario up. I'm not saying that it happens this way, but just as an effort to illustrate the point. They pick up the phone, ring, ring. They call Metro Nashville. They say, hey, by the way, just to let y'all know, we're doing a little interdiction down here with Tennessee Highway Patrol over on Shelby Avenue near where the construction's going on at Nissan Stadium. Just wanted y'all to know that we're over here. And the Metro Nashville, according to Executive Order 30, they're then required to immediately tell the mayor's office. Why does the mayor's office need to know immediately? Well, apparently they need to know immediately so they can immediately post it up on their website and get it out on their socials. Why do they want to post this on their website or get this out on their social media platforms? Anybody got any guesses? To alert illegal aliens that ICE is here. To help them hide. Now, you can either agree with that or not agree with it, but tell me that I'm wrong in my assessment of what they're trying to do. You can call me and you can say, Murphy, you're hard-hearted and you're a mean SOB and how dare you, and Freddie's just trying to be kind to these people and all of that. But you can't tell me that that's not the sole purpose of what he's trying to do. I'm willing to listen to anything else. What's the other answer? Is there another answer? So when Executive Order 30 was doubled down on by the mayor's office, we thought to ourselves, well, that's a little odd, but maybe it's just the mayor really, really wanting to be on top of this situation. Maybe it's a matter of O'Connell just wanting to make sure that he has all the answers before he's asked the question. Well, Congressman Andy Ogles said on our show yesterday that the mayor is interfering with justice, saying the biggest concern that he had was the releasing of this information of the names of the federal immigration officials. What O'Connell's people are saying, when they say anything at all, because they have clammed up. Have y'all noticed that, by the way? O'Connell has shut his mouth because he let his mouth and his pen get him in this trouble. There is a way in the United States of America to express disagreement, and that's all well and good. But when you begin getting in the way of lawful interaction between law enforcement and the general population, then you have a problem. O'Connell says, well, it's all a part of Executive Order 30. So the mayor's spokesperson said in a statement, quote, "The sole purpose of Executive Order 30 is transparency. The EO dates back to the Cooper administration." But according to Fox 17, the interactions between ICE and the city only started in July of 2024, 10 months after John Cooper left office. The mayor's office was asked about this by Aguilar of Fox 17. That would be Karen Aguilar, Fox 17. And the mayor's office says, well, that's because there were no reported interactions with ICE between January and July of 2024. Mayor O'Connell, of course, was sworn in September of 2023. Mayor Cooper's original order allowed for 3 days to report immigration communications with the city. Mayor Freddie O'Connell's version that he just altered after all of this happened requires 1 business day for emergency departments. Fox 17 asked Mayor O'Connell if he intended to tip off migrants with the data. O'Connell said that's not the intention. The intended point was for us to have awareness. What happened recently is more of a technical update. Okay, so I'm a little confused. You're saying that you just want to make sure you know what's going on, but you're not going to do anything with that information. But then suddenly that information shows up on a publicly available website where these various charitable and do-gooder organizations and these activist groups can get their hands on it. And by the way, these activist groups within the city, they are patrolling Nashville. Let me tell you this story. According to the Tennessean, there are groups that are on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to, at any moment, hunt, and these are their words, hunt down immigration enforcement and alert communities in the city of Nashville of their whereabouts. Dozens of volunteers across Nashville perched in similar locations across the city, some by law enforcement facilities, some in downtown businesses, some scouring the interstates, all connected by a series of encrypted group chats that help volunteers monitor ICE activity. The group, named Music City Migrant Watch, operates under the local immigration advocacy group called the Remix, REMIX, which has existed long before the immigration operation that began on May 4th. But after the week of arrests and detainment, according to the Tennessean, the group exploded in their volunteer numbers. Now around 200 people are active in a volunteer effort to verify and respond to ICE activity 24 hours a day on rotating shifts. Well, what do you think they're doing with this information that is being presented by the mayor's office? This is a danger to our community. ICE announced that their week-long immigration operation resulted, of course, in the arrest of 196 immigrants, illegal aliens, I would say, in Nashville, with some with significant criminal history. All arrests result of traffic stops initiated by the Tennessee Highway Patrol. So Justin Jones, a representative of Nashville, videoed a stop on May 9th. And a THP officer who identified himself as Officer Phillips said the reason for the stop was because a car's headlight was out. Jones said if that warranted calling ICE. To which the trooper replied, "No, I don't need to call ICE. ICE is right here with me," which is nice. All right, we'll keep you up to date on this story and give you any further updates as they become available. 615-737-9986. We're going to help Doge cross the finish line. Elon is out. We'll give you the latest on that story coming up in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. What is Alpha and Omega? Well, they are computer consultants. They are an IT firm. They help you with cybersecurity and security threats and compliance for all industries, as well as business continuity. Simply put, they are a one-stop IT shop when it comes to your office and your computer needs. For example, in the medical field, compliance is critical at Alpha and Omega. They guarantee it. Their managed IT service ensures your systems are secure, your data protected, your compliance documented. In the financial world, data security isn't just important, it's everything. Partnering with a managed services provider like Alpha and Omega, who understands compliance and cybersecurity, adds a powerful layer of protection for you and your business. Their average response time to a ticket, they call it a ticket if there's any issue, is 4 minutes. The average resolution time is less than 15 minutes. When you have someone actively managing your network, you're going to have less IT issues, which translates to more time and money for you to run your business. And here's the great thing. Alpha and Omega, they're local. You get a real person on the phone when you call. You don't get somebody overseas, and you don't get an automated service. Emergency services are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you're a business owner, you owe it to yourself to contact Alpha and Omega. Call Michael today. In business since 1998. 615-784-0096. 784-0096 or online at A&O, spell out and, so A&O.net. That's A&O.net.
Hamas is reviewing a new U.S. ceasefire proposal. And is it possible that Scott Peterson, convicted of murder in California, is it possible he could go free? And the latest on the Russia-Ukraine negotiations. We'll have those stories at 5 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I am told that I have mispronounced migra. It's migra. Gracias to my amigo 8207 who helped me with my Hispanic pronunciation. Apparently the immigration folks are referenced as la migra in the Hispanic community. And so that would make sense. These people, I don't understand these folks. I can understand trying to advocate for people that you think are less, that need it. And I suppose I can understand creating a group that would say, hey, the people that have been here for 15 years, they haven't done anything wrong, yada, yada, yada. But these folks on Migra Watch, with the Migra Watch hotlines, the group operates with a number of chats. One gathers social media reports of ICE activity, monitors tips sent into the Migra Watch hotline. A second verifies the information, doing more research, and volunteers drive to the location at any hour of the day. One of the volunteers said, one night, maybe for 20 minutes, they knew we were following them. They would try to lose us. We got on the interstate. They would get off on the next exit and circle around. But in that amount of time, I know that someone could have gotten pulled over and they didn't. And that means everything to me. Someone like a sex offender or a drug trafficker or a human smuggler, or someone that's not doing anything wrong. But you don't know, do you? And you apparently don't care. 615-737-9986. Get to a few of your calls coming up. Also, a Metro councilor, David Benton. He was a part of the Memorial Day press conference at the state capitol, and we'll talk to him about his thoughts on whether or not the mayor has crossed the line. We'll do that next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good afternoon. It is 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A full weather forecast and another traffic report are coming up. Hamas says it is evaluating a new U.S. ceasefire proposal submitted by U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Israel backs and supports the proposal. That involves the release of some hostages. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce was at the Thursday afternoon briefing.
There's been a proposal put forward that seems to be promising. We are unaware of Hamas accepting it, but we do believe that it has some significant promise.
Heading out west now, California's Court of Appeals has decided it will allow the Los Angeles Innocence Project to file a petition to overturn the conviction of Scott Peterson, who was found guilty of killing his wife and unborn child in Northern California decades ago. But most of the argument won't be heard right now by the appellate court. ABC's Alex Stone explains from California.
In April, the Los Angeles Innocence Project sent the California Court of Appeals a 400-page filing arguing new evidence shows Scott Peterson is innocent. Until now, the court had not decided if it would allow that filing, now deciding it will allow it, but that most of the claims being made of new evidence first have to be heard by and decided on by a lower court. It will allow the LA Innocence Project to claim Peterson was deprived of his rights because of juror misconduct at his trial so many years ago, because a lower court already ruled on that, but most of the arguments first have to go to a lower court.
We now turn to the war with Russia and Ukraine. President Trump recently gave Russia and Russian President Vladimir Putin another 2-week window until he says Russia and Ukraine should come back to the negotiating table. The White House says they expect those negotiations to continue in Turkey next week. The Trump administration's special envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, breaks down a recent deal that he says is on the table that Ukraine has agreed to. He also tells ABC News about the president's frustrations with Putin and claims that he's just slow walking rejoining talks.
Never put him in a position that he thinks he's being used. And I think his frustration is that he's put forward some reasonable proposals and reasonable discussions. And he's seen a level of unreasonableness that really frustrates me. It frustrates me as well.
And an apparent brazen robbery in Robertson County. A vehicle was used to ram into a Robertson County gun store early this morning. Police were called to the Guns and Leather store on Highway 41 around 5 o'clock this morning. Investigators think that a group of suspects used a Kia Soul vehicle to ram into the glass door at a high rate of speed to get into the shop. An officer was on patrol in the area when he spotted what looked like a burglary in progress. According to Greenbrier police, two suspects came out of the store and they had guns. One jumped into a vehicle that was sitting there and took off, and the other just ran away on foot. Police followed the vehicle, but they couldn't catch up to it. They lost it. It's believed that between 4 and 6 AR or AR-15 or AK-47 type rifles were taken. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is assisting with that investigation. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. An accident near the riverfront, 2nd Avenue South, just south of Broadway. We've got the right lane blocked on the east bank due to a crash, 24 eastbound at the Shelby Avenue exit. Also south of the city, this is 65 northbound at Armory Drive. We always have wrecks there, and unfortunately, one is there now. A stalled vehicle near the Opry Mills Mall, the left lane block, Briley Parkway northbound, right before McGavick Pike. And this accident just popping up on my screen here, 24 eastbound at Murfreesboro Pike. Oh, boy, if you're trying to get to Murfreesboro, yeah, you get to sit in some more traffic like that. If there's not enough there already. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes, every afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and hello to you. My name is Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. We're halfway home, friends. A little over, as a matter of fact. It's almost 8 minutes past 5 o'clock. Glad you're with us. We'll get to your telephone calls as promised momentarily, 615-737-9986. You know, in my search for stories for nincompoops in the news, I found one that doesn't really qualify for nincompoops in the news because there's not really a nincompoop. But have you seen this story about this wedding couple that got married in Portales, New Mexico with the tornado in the background?
Oh, I've not.
It is a badass wedding photo.
I bet it is.
So it's a New Mexico couple, their wedding photo going viral because you have to see the photo. Chelsna Clemens, and I think I'm saying that right, Chelsney Clemens, was photographing a wedding ceremony in Portales, New Mexico, when she captured what she described as the most epic wedding photo ever.
Wow, look at that.
Have you seen it? Are you looking at it?
Yeah, that is awesome looking.
It is the couple. The guy's got himself a cowboy hat on. The bride is in a beautiful wedding dress, and they're having a smooch. And in the background, there's a huge tornado.
That's a framer.
That's a pretty good one. Not everybody's got that. Anyway, maybe more on that. And nincompoops in the news coming up in just a little bit on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We've been comprehensively covering the aftermath of the story regarding Immigration and Customs Enforcement for you, trying to get all angles here. And one of the angles that we've not fully explored would be hearing from some of our Metro City counselors. Obviously, we've heard from Courtney Johnston and a couple of others, but we wanted to get as many voices in on this subject as possible. And one of those voices is Metro City Councilor David Benton. He joins us. He represents the 28th district in the city, and he joins us on the Murphy Show hotline to talk about the resultant activity in the aftermath of the Tennessee Highway Patrol and the ICE raids. Councilor, thank you for being on with us. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's obviously our pleasure. You participated in the Memorial Day press conference at the state capitol. Talk to us about that participation and why you felt so important that the citizens of Davidson County heard from some of their city councilors with this matter.
Right. Well, I think the noise level is pretty high for those that are against ICE. And I thought we needed a little more balance in the story because there's a lot more to that story than just kind of stomping your foot and saying we're not going to have it. And let me just say this before we get too far. I support legal immigration 100%. And I think most all of us do. In fact, I think the great majority of us that are here, that's the way we got here. And so it's almost foolish to not support immigration. So, let's not get that all twisted up. I love everybody, full stop. And I judge people based on their behavior, and that's it. And but at the same time, we've got to uphold the law. And I think it's really cruel for us as leaders, say myself or the mayor or other leaders, and including the ones at the state. I think it's cruel to lead an illegal alien along to believe that we can shield them from federal ICE enforcement. That's just not realistic. And I really hate that that's the impression that we're giving off right now. And I think that's wrong of us. In fact, I heard Wally Dietz at a special call meeting for the Public Health and Safety Committee say that we do not have the authority to stop ICE enforcement. And that couldn't be more true. We should be giving a model behavior of lawful behavior. And we got to set the example. And I just don't think mocking law enforcement and this is what criminals and cartels and mob bosses do. They mock the law enforcement that's out there trying to do their job and play cat and mouse with them. It's not very respectful. And of course, they've got supremacy authority over us at the federal level, and then the state, they're coming in with their own immigration stuff, and they have preemptive authority over us. And this is not a really good relationship to be developing with the state and federal government, especially when they hold a big purse string. And we have grants and other monies that we need desperately to operate on. Taxpayers are going to have to pull it out of their pocket, go without, or get a little more friendly and try to comply. They can pull funding just for us rebelling against this stuff. You know, we've seen that with DEI. We're seeing it now with ICE. We don't need to go running around making everybody mad. Of course, then we have this concern. We recently joined as a partnership with the Belonging Fund with other nonprofits. And there's become a little bit of a question as to whether they can distinguish themselves between an immigrant versus what ICE is actually after right now, which is an illegal alien. And there's a difference. Let's clear that up. It's a definition thing. We play games with the definition. And the definition is if you evade and avoid detection at the border, you don't go through a port, you have taken on, you're in violation of 1324, no, 1325 U.S. Code. That's Title 8. That was passed in 1952, and that was bipartisan. And the reason they passed that one, they had concerns over communism and national security. And, of course, that hasn't changed. And the odd part is the 1324 part of the code, that's from 1996. And that was Chuck Schumer and, of all people, Joe Biden. But that was also bipartisan. Everyone voted for that. Not 100%, I'm sure. But it was a notable bipartisan bill. And that's the one that brings you and me, the citizens, nonprofits, and other people, including the legal and illegal immigrant community, liable for their behavior. And this is the hard part right here. If you enable, aid, abet, encourage, that's guilty of, and that's to encourage them to remain in the United States. You're guilty of a federal law. And I think we've seen one judge, it was, up north that was arrested on that. Now, I don't know what the outcome of that's going to be, but she's in bad shape. That's not a good spot to be in.
Councilor David Benton is with us with the Metro Nashville City Council. Your voice is important in this. And one of the reasons I thought it's so important to have you on today, you don't represent a district that is on the other side of the county from where these types of activities went on. You're adjacent to Jenny Welsh. You're adjacent to Sandra Sepulveda, right? So, I mean, you're representing some of the same folks that they claim to represent when they're pushing back against legal law enforcement. And I appreciate this different perspective and this different voice. What are your constituents telling you, Counselor, when you speak to them?
Well, this is the wild part. I have had multiple phone calls, and I was a little surprised, actually, because I just didn't know they had such an understanding of legal immigrants, and these happen to be Hispanic, and they thanked me for taking a stand. And the way they explained it was they're frustrated that some people are cheating the line, jumping the line, and not going through the right channels the way they did. And they don't appreciate that. Yeah, and of course, I'm getting pushback too. And oddly enough, it feels a little bit more politically charged on a lot of that. Mm-hmm. Although there's some scared people. Let's be honest. And it bothers me. It hurts me. I love the Hispanic community. They're friends.
I feel bad. I mean, can I just say, and I don't mean to jump in on your answer, but I feel bad. No. I feel bad for many of them. I feel bad that they came the wrong way and they've laid low for a long time. And sadly, they were convinced by people that if they just laid low long enough that, all would be forgiven and everything would be okay. And that's not the way that it works. And I feel bad that they got duped by people in that way. And I know that they're scared about it, and we need to deal with it. We need to figure it out.
Right. And that's exactly what I meant when I said I think it's cruel. Because I think it's very cruel that so many were just let in, because ultimately something was probably going to happen, some pushback somewhere. And then when you look at the law and you start applying the law, they're the ones that are stuck in the middle. And there's not a lot we can do unless we break the law in order to help them. So I just think it's really cruel to give them this false sense that you can do something to prevent them facing the law. Now, here's the good news for them. It's not full application of the law, but I don't think a lot of people are going to squeal about it. ICE is not chasing down the people whose visas have expired. But those are coming under a little bit different category when, say, you had a visa that expired, or you came in legally, you started off correctly, and then something went haywire with maybe you missed a date for something. I wouldn't do that. That's a bad idea. It's a very risky idea. But that is a little bit different category, usually a little more on the civil side. But just subverting the whole system and coming in illegally, that one is a criminal activity, and it's a little more serious. And I hate it. It's sad.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, no, you go ahead.
I'm curious your thoughts on the mayor, and if you've heard as a city councilor from the mayor directly since all of this has shaken out, since you appeared at the press conference, because the mayor has made a couple of interesting points in his statements, and he's done a couple of interesting things. The executive order, where he kind of doubled down on an existing executive order and demanded that information about federal movement within the county get turned over to his office quickly. And then we see where some of this information appears on official Metro websites, doxing essentially these agents in a way that could potentially put them in harm's way. I'm curious your thoughts on that and what we need to do to explore whether or not Mayor Freddie O'Connell has crossed the line in terms of, Title 8 U.S. Code 1324. Right.
Well, I like Freddie the man. I like the guy. But I just don't agree with him on this stuff. I just don't. And the biggest part is, once again, the same with everyone else. I can't violate 1324. I can't do that. And I don't want to give the impression that I can. But it does bother me when we take this kind of action. Look, this really boils down to a couple of things. What we're doing by doing that is we're really making the people who can really help our city with a lot of money and grants, which we desperately need. And by destroying the relationship with the state and the federal government, and we're really making them mad doing this. We really are. And it's hard to restore that. I don't know that he could do it at this point. I really don't. He's really upset him. And that's going to cost the city. And I think that may be a bigger part of this. I mean, it's obviously we need to do the right thing, but I think it may have a bigger impact on us than just did I get away with breaking the law or not. So it's not only about did you break the law, it's also about did you destroy a relationship that's going to hurt the city financially. And I'm going to tell you, I'm concerned about another thing. If we come up with it and they discover that there is some wrong activity going on, in other words, maybe some support to illegal aliens, not just good old immigrants trying to find their way in their path to citizenship. Mm-hmm. So let's say that there's some assistance going on with any of these funds. We are a party to those funds when we are partners, which that becomes a little bit different relationship. And by doing that, we may be drug into a 1324 violation. Plus, the other part to that is if we could separate ourselves from that, that might help. But we're there now. But I'm pretty sure, and I would like it, in all fairness, I need to have that cleared so we can know whether we can support everything fully moving forward. Without that, we don't know if we are in violation. And this could end up getting us in deep trouble. In addition to, this could go as far as racketeering with a RICO Act if there's money moved around to avoid being detected. This could get really serious really fast.
Do you think, based on your knowledge of the Belonging Fund, do we need more information about how this money has moved around and exactly where it's going to?
Well, that's the whole idea. I was concerned and wanted them audited so we can feel more comfortable with it. Mm-hmm. Because there are questions, and there's enough questions. We know there were some federal funds that were approved for one or two of these nonprofits. And by doing that, if they're moving that back around in any way through each other or individually, with us as a partner now, that's some people call it money laundering, and that's trouble.
What is I mean, in the minute or two that we have left, David, what are next steps for you as a counselor, and do you have other fellow Metro counselors in support of your actions here?
I haven't talked to many of my colleagues yet. I think plenty of them are probably scared to death to say anything at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a group that's just, always going to be full steam ahead, just follow along with the mayor. But I want to leave this with you, if you could. We've been ranked in the top 20 in violent crime for a while now. In 2021, we were 16th. 2023, we were 15th. 2025, we were 14th. That's too high. That's not a rank that you could be proud of. And that's a concern when it comes to the fact that we need to get safety measures and the police fully funded, because they're underfunded to the point where they're 20 to 30 calls behind. And not only that, that means there's not enough of them. And secondly, we're not giving them the tools like the LPRs. And here's what I just want to clarify this. Mayor Cooper signed that into law August of 2023. The guidelines were passed in 2022, which was the big concern, to make sure we used them responsibly. And then that was the result of a 24-14 vote. They're fully passed, fully signed into law. Now just hold that. And then if innocent taxpayers and our many, many visitors rely on us for safety and expect that we're going to give it, if the LPR is passed and we're signed into law August of 2023, along with the policy guidelines, if the police are underfunded, if the Vanderbilt poll confirmed 83% of the people want LPRs, if we are ranked consistently the top 20 most violent crimes, 14th currently, what is our legal liability for any injuries or deaths from violent illegals and violent legals due to neglect?
It's a great question. It's a great question. It's an open question, and let's continue the conversation next time, Counselor, because I want to talk to you about LPRs. I'm on this subject. I'm a dog on a bone on it, and I'm not going to let it go, and I know that you won't either. Thank you for spending some time with us explaining your position on this. Thank you for your representation for District 28, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. There's David Benton. Good conversation, 25 after the hour on Super Talk. Folks, if you're paying too much for your health insurance, do you know it? I mean, are you simply allowing this to be deducted from your monthly check and you just don't really understand what you're getting? I would encourage you, do this for yourself, do this for your family. Call Shane Ring today. Call Shane Ring tomorrow morning. Schedule an appointment with Shane and Cover Nash and allow him to go over your health insurance plan as it exists right now. And maybe you don't even have one and you don't know that you can get one, and you can. Allow him to go over your program and to see if he can save you money or get you better benefits for the same amount of money. It's as simple as this. Shane is not going to pressure you. Shane is not going to try to sell you something in particular. He's going to cover the entire market. That's what Cover Nash means. He's going to cover the entire healthcare insurance plan market and see if he can assist you. Do me a favor and call Shane. I so appreciate his participation on the show, his leadership in the industry, and the fact that he covers Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding communities like a blanket when it comes to your health insurance. Shane will sit down with you, shop the entire health plan market, and make sure that he finds the best one for you in consultation with you. That's what it's all about. Health coverage managed by you, not by the government. Shane Ring and Cover Nash. Give him a call at 615-465-0023, 465-0023, or go to covernash.com. That's covernash.com.
Good afternoon. It's 5:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories, a full weather forecast, and another traffic report coming up. Well, the up and down, the seesaw of tariff rulings kept on going today with a federal appeals court allowing President Trump to continue collecting tariffs under an emergency powers law, arguing that the move is critical for the country's national security. The ruling temporarily stops the order from a federal trade court yesterday that said Trump exceeded his powers when he imposed the tariffs. ABC's Karen Travers has the latest.
The White House says the appeals court ruling is a, quote, positive development. Spokesman Kush Desai says in a statement that regardless of how this issue plays out in court, the president will, quote, continue to use all tools at his disposal to advance trade policy that works for all Americans. Meanwhile, the White House says it continues negotiations with countries all around the world to try and reach trade deals.
We now head out west where federal funding could be on the chopping block when a transgender athlete takes the field at a high school competition in Clovis, California over the weekend. ABC's Alex Stone has more.
This weekend, transgender student athlete A.B. Hernandez is set to participate in girls track and field at the state championships. It led to President Trump calling it unfair, the threat of federal funding being pulled, and U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley announcing a federal investigation.
Potentially file our own civil rights cases where appropriate.
One Republican Assembly member is offering a solution of creating an open division, not girls or boys, to solve the problem. Event organizers say they will award multiple medals in events that transgender athletes compete in.
Back here in Nashville, a Metro first grade teacher has resigned after a district investigation found that she taped a student to a chair and used other what was deemed inappropriate discipline methods in her classroom. According to internal documents that were found by Fox 17 News, Danielle Roan, a first-grade teacher at Mount View Elementary, was placed on administrative leave back in April after multiple students and even some staff members reported some alarming behavior. The investigation revealed that Roan had allegedly taped students' legs to chairs, taped some kids' mouths shut, forced some students to run laps at recess, and required them to stand facing the wall for extended periods of time. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. It helps to turn on the microphone. 24 eastbound at Shelby Avenue. We have a right lane block there on the east bank. There's a crash there. 65 northbound at Armory Drive, still working that wreck. And 24 eastbound at Murfreesboro Road. That wreck's been there about 30 minutes. They're still working to clean that up. Edmondson Pike, west of Nolensville Pike, a crash. Also Harding Pike at Cherokee Road. Gallatin Avenue at West Eastland Avenue. Yes, we have a number of wrecks being worked here this afternoon, where we'll tell you about them every 10 minutes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let's talk about improving your property values. Let's talk about finding something that you can build on your property that you will love for years and years to come. Let's talk about Stoltz Co. They're the leading company in the creation of post-frame buildings, and they take pride in providing high-quality, customized structures at incredible, reasonable prices. I encourage you, when I talk about Stoltz Co., to go to their website and see some of these incredible buildings. We're talking foundations and concrete, of course, but we're also talking about event spaces, equestrian spaces, things like garages, pole barns, and then, of course, barn dominiums. Barn dominiums are all the rage, friends, and if you don't know anything about construction, if you don't know anything about a barn dominium, for example, you need to contact the guys at Stoltz Co. Sit down with them and allow them to go over the process with you. You can be as involved as you want to be, and now it is a turnkey operation if you desire, that they will take your ideas, take the design, roll with it, and they'll hand you the keys when they're done. That's what it's all about at Stoltz Co. as involved as you want to be, or just take the keys and move in. That's what it's all about. So if it's a mother-in-law suite, a father-in-law suite, or perhaps a she shed or a man cave, they can get it done at Stoltz Co. Go to STOLTZCO.com. That's StoltzCo.com for more information, and tell them Matt Murphy sent you. Woo! Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Talking to liberals on the super text line. Let me tell you, I suffer for all of you. I'll just put it that way. Let me give you an example. I'm talking to good liberal friend, 8715. And my good liberal friend says that we should live and let live and leave our immigrant community alone, and we should love the immigrant community and take care of them like Jesus asked us to do. And I said, well, what does that mean? No borders, no restrictions, everybody who wants in gets in? And let me just give you the exchange. So I said, no borders, no restrictions, everybody that wants in gets in? Most of the illegal aliens arrive on airplanes and just stay here. You know this. It's a waste of time and money to build that stupid wall. Not in the last 5 years, they didn't. Millions of illegal aliens crossed the southern border. Some got caught, claimed asylum. Others didn't get caught at all. And you should know that. Again, should we have borders at all? To which I had to ask the question 3 times, to which the response finally was, we already have borders. Okay, should we protect them? Should we have rules about who can come in and who cannot? Yes or no? Response, we already do. Notice he won't say what he thinks or she thinks. We already do. Do you agree we should? I think we need immigrants in this country far more than you're ever going to admit on the air, both legal and illegal. If you listen to Elon, the underpopulation is the biggest concern for the future of America. So now we're changing the subject, right? I was like, you did not answer the question. You don't agree with my assessment of our need for immigrants? By the way, I'm on the record as saying I understand that we need immigration reform. I'm on the record as saying that we need to look at immigration in terms of what America's needs are. We should not consider the need of the immigrant first. We should consider the need of America first, and there's nothing wrong with that because everyone benefits as a result. To which the response was, I said, should we have rules and a process to come into the United States? When the process is as broken as it is, I don't blame anyone for taking action and proving for themselves or providing for themselves and their family. And then you're in Nashville now, Matt. Time to learn about outlaw country. I don't know what the hell that means, except I listen to Outlaw Country on Sirius XM. I mean, so when I pin liberals like this person into the corner, their last refuge is to make stupid comments like that, and you just come off as dumb. 8715, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be insulting, but that's true. I mean, you just come off as dumb. Of course we should have borders. Of course we should have rules about how you get into the United States of America. And the question is, what do you do with the people who break the rules? Do you just say, oh, well, you broke the rules? Well, then the rules don't mean anything, you dumbass. Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud? I'm the nincompoop. I'm a nincompoop. I apologize. That's me. Matt Murphy's the nincompoop. The vote's over. It's time for Nincompoops in the News. Let's have a good time with this one. 42 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jay Harper's back in the newsroom.
Take a breath, Matt. Calm down. It's going to be okay, buddy.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be okay.
I'm going to do it.
I think you should have just saved that story for Nincompoops. That would have won, I think.
Maybe so. Someone was asking me about... 8715 says, I love making conservative snowflakes mad. Well, move on down the road there, 8715. I'm not a conservative. Maybe I'm a snowflake, though. But
it did make you mad, though.
Well, dumb people make me up. Dumb people make me madder than anything. That is true. Stupid people who think they're smart and they get caught into an intellectual corner and then they can't box themselves out of it. But if y'all want to call the fella, his area code is 816. Where is that from? Is that Missouri? 816. So he's not from around here either. Hey, you're in Nashville now, there, 8715.
That is Kansas City.
Oh, time to learn about Kansas City country.
I thought that was Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, but thanks for listening, and be sure to tell everybody you're a P1 when they ask. Who wants to go first? I mean, I will. I don't mind.
You want to go first? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's right. Your show, Matt. You make the choices.
I'm all feisty because I think I got a pretty good one. This story comes to us from Jacksonville, Florida. Florida man.
Oh, boy.
Florida man alert.
There it is.
Police are looking for a man that they say stole a ferret from a pet store.
Okay.
Guess how he got the ferret out of the pet store?
In his pants?
You're right.
Yeah.
Put it down his shorts. Happened on Tuesday night at Petland on Beach Boulevard near Hodges, Florida. That's outside of Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office incident report describes the man as having a unique long mustache.
Are we talking him or the ferret? What?
The guy, but I just thought of the mustache rides. Anyway, a unique long mustache, and that he was wearing a blue Under Armour cutoff shirt and Navy logo shorts. The manager shared the surveillance video with Action News. In that video, the man can be seen playing with the ferret.
While it's in his pants, perhaps? Or maybe that wasn't the ferret he was playing.
Well, Jay, let's not get ahead of the story because he played with the story before. He played with the ferret before it got into his pants.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make me laugh when I read this next line, right?
Okay. All right.
The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office incident report notes the man, quote, fondles the ferret for quite some time.
Yes, ulterior motives.
The man is seen in the video putting the ferret down his shorts. He walks out of the store while holding onto the ferret through his shorts, according to the video, and I can share the video with you if you'd like. The report also said that he walked out of the business without paying. Store manager ran after the man and saw him get into a white work van with multiple ladders on the top. The manager was unable to get the van's tag. JSO ran the man's face through an auto facial recognizer and was not able to identify him. The ferret, y'all want to know the going rate on ferrets?
Yeah.
You want to guess?
$100.
$100. Jay, you got a guess? Going rate on a ferret at Petland.
Okay. At a pet store. Gosh, $200.
$650.
Ooh,
Wow. No wonder he shoved it down his pants.
$650. Man, oh man, I'd fondle the ferret too.
Yeah, is that grand theft? That much?
I don't. It's ferret theft. I'll tell you that. So anyway, no word on where the man's whereabouts would be, and police have not yet been able to identify the ferret thief. So there you go.
Well, I hope the ferret's all right.
Have you ever spent time with a ferret?
I don't really care for them. I don't trust them.
What, big long rats? Is that how you look at them?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Slinky rats.
Since I've been doing the afternoons, that might be. I said, what about? I don't trust them.
Especially when you put them in your shorts.
And they stink. Ferrets stink.
I've been told, yeah.
They do. They stink. All right, who wants it next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
Well, it's been well documented over the years that when people fly, they get a little crazy. I don't know why.
Yeah, they slap kids upside the head.
Yeah,
there you go.
Drinky winky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, maybe this person was trying to launch a preemptive assault. A passenger handed flight attendants a printed, quote, flight allergy list filled with some unusual demands. Well, this quickly made its way to the internet. It was posted on X. And here's what it said. No coffee, quote, highly allergic even to smell, unquote. No cashews. No fragrance or chemical smells, quote, cologne, perfume, scented soap, or body lotion. No gasoline or airplane fuel, unquote. The long letter read, I am highly allergic to the smell of coffee and would appreciate it if you could refrain from brewing coffee, as even the smell can stop my breathing.
This was a passenger demand list.
Yes.
As
And
they
it was
boarded the plane.
a written list.
Yes,
yeah,
it was,
I've seen this story.
The passenger also requested a large bottle of water, explaining, quote, I have several medications to take and as a result drink a lot of water. If you could provide a large bottle at the beginning of the flight, it would be greatly appreciated so I don't have to keep asking for refills. The letter did end with a note of gratitude saying, thank you for your patience and understanding in trying to make the flight as enjoyable as possible for me. I appreciate you. Imagine sitting next to this woman on the flight. I guess it was a woman.
I believe it was, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think it's a good assumption. No. So give me the list again one more time.
All right. No coffee.
Uh-huh.
No cashews.
Uh-huh.
No fragrance or chemical smells, including cologne, perfume, scented soap, body lotion, gasoline, and airplane fuel.
Yes, they're riding in a glider. Yeah. No fuel necessary. No fuel, please.
Attention passengers, we'll be gliding our way.
Do you understand what the rest of the plane's going to do when you say, by the way, because of the passenger in 8C, nobody gets coffee on the flight?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Can't even brew it.
Can't even brew. Yeah, I'm allergic to the smell.
The smell could stop my breathing.
Yes.
She said.
Well, hey,
I don't believe them.
Well, if that's the case, man, start brewing away and stop the breathing. Let's just put this person out of their misery.
By the way, speaking of the coffee, I've heard and seen this several times that you should never drink coffee on an airplane.
Yeah, because the water's so nasty that they brew it with.
They never clean.
Yeah, they never clean.
Never clean the urns or whatnot.
Yeah.
That's probably I need to ask E about that because E, she was a flight attendant. She would know. But yeah, I would not do anything on an airplane that involved the water on the airplane.
Yeah,
I want anything I do on an airplane. I want it to be like popped or capped or uncorked in some form or fashion, because otherwise I don't trust any of that.
Yeah. Speaking of uncorked, that lady was uncorked.
Yes.
Crazy. Mr. J. Harper, your nincompoop, please.
Okay, here we go. An 18-year-old man named Ruben Zarate, he said, hey, I'm going to rob a muffler shop here in Chicago. Well, he got there and demanded money, but he was told, hey, man, Hey, like all the cash, or at least most of it, it's stored in our safe. And it can only be opened by the manager. But he's not here right now, but he will be here in a couple of hours. So Ruben said, well, okay, I'll save myself a little trouble. He left his cell phone number there for the store to call him back once the manager got there.
That's good.
Oh, this one's in the bag.
Well, of course, the store, would they call the police? Oh, yes, they did. And then they called Zarate back and said, hey, the manager's here.
Safe's open.
When he showed up, well, let's just say he was last seen riding away in handcuffs in a police cruiser.
Wow. You know what? For the first time in Nincompoops in the news history, I'm going to say something. Chris Webber gave a pristine example of a Karen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I gave you a great example of a weirdo.
Yeah.
Jay Harper had the nincompoop.
Absolutely.
100%. I don't know. It's your vote, but all I'm telling you is if I were voting, I'd vote against me today, and I'd vote for the nincompoop. There you go. That's nincompoop. Here's my phone number. Call me when he gets back so I can come back to rob you.
Yeah, do me a favor, huh? Here's my number, and
It reminds me, there was this old story about the guy that was robbing the bank, and he wrote the robbery note on the back of his check.
Yeah, I've also heard people doing that on the back of their deposit slip.
Yeah, that's a good one,
which is
too.
the same thing, basically.
That's a good one, too. That's Nincompoops in the News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Back after this. It is coming, friends. In just 2 short days, it will be time for the Glock Store's big-time 5th annual open house celebration happening on Airlane Drive, just off of Elm Hill Pike, which is just off of Briley Parkway, minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. And I'm hearing people are coming from all over for this big-time event. Raffles galore, giveaways galore. It's my understanding that there will be 3 separate Glocks given away, culminating with the Trump Glock at the end of the day. What an incredible opportunity for you, friends, to come and be a part of this raffle. Plus, they have not only the Glocks, but other prizes to be given away and vendors galore. They have all-time awesome sales on things like the Burrow bullets that we've been telling you about, plus much, much more. Shooting rooms will be there. I will be there from 10 until 2, and I would love to see you. It's at the Glock Store. Go to glockstore.com to find out more information, or be there this Saturday on Airlane Drive with Matt Murphy and the Glock Store's annual open house celebration. It's the 5th annual at the one and only Glock Store. What a great time to shop Genesis Diamonds right now. You know, tariff talk has a lot of folks a little confused about where we go in the diamond industry because so many diamonds are imported from various places around the world. But know this, Genesis Diamonds will never be beaten on price, and their selection is to your advantage because that selection, that inventory that they have, the overall inventory that is on par with any jewelry store in the United States of America and better than any jewelry store here in Nashville, Tennessee. That inventory is already set in terms of its price. So you don't have to worry about tariffs or price changes at Genesis Diamonds. If you have a special occasion coming up in the next few months, it is time to get to Genesis Diamonds today, whether it's an anniversary or birthday or just because. Genesis will always be the value leader, regardless of what happens around the world. And it's way beyond price. It is their selection, their quality, their outrageously good customer service, and their industry-leading warranties. Don't forget, Genesis Diamonds is also the exclusive retailer on a lot of brand name bridal jewelry, and you need to see it to believe it. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Genesis Diamonds.
President Trump making a small victory, but a victory nonetheless in the tariff battle, and a new Gaza ceasefire proposal. That's all coming up and more at 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Runaway victor. I think it's the second day in a row that Jay Harper has come out victorious.
Oh, well.
On Nincompoops in the news.
And I got disqualified the first day because I had a repeat story.
That's
but
true. Yeah.
Didn't know about
So Jay's feeling like he could be on a 3-day winning streak.
Perhaps.
Were it not for that disqualification. Well, it was a pretty good story nonetheless. And congratulations on your big victory. A lot of conversation. Most conversation regarding Nincompoops in the news involves ferrets. And this one caught my eye. 1998 writes in it. And, you know, I'm on record as saying that Mayor O'Connell, his appearance is what I believe a squirrel would look like if a squirrel became human. I might have to amend that. Because 1998 says Freddie O'Connell looks like a ferret.
I think they're onto something.
Yeah.
Real slender.
Yep.
I mean, skinny as a minute. Got that.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I'm saying?
Frank Burns was ferret face on MASH.
Weaselly looking face.
Yeah.
I mean, ferrets in the weasel family, right?
I think
probably
so.
Yeah.
If not, they should be.
Plus, Freddie the ferret. I mean,
oh man.
I mean, that
just rolls off the tongue.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah,
stick. Man.
Yeah.
You know, but if I start calling him Freddie the ferret, I might say goodbye to our next visit. Although that's probably the case anyway.
You think?
Maybe. Just maybe. One more hour to go. We got news right now. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's the Matt Murphy Show. Get involved. 615-737-9986. Stand by for news.
Good evening. It is 6 o'clock. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A complete weather forecast and a traffic report are on the way. The Trump tariffs, they're back on for now anyway, after a D.C.-based appeals court setting aside a ruling that the president exceeded his authority in imposing the import taxes. National correspondent for ABC News is Stephen Portnoy, and he has the latest.
This is a temporary administrative stay granted by the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit. The judges of that court say last night's ruling by the Court of International Trade in New York is going to be paused as both sides, both the Trump administration and small businesses and states, put forward their early filings in this appeal. For now, it means the tariffs turn back on. Separately, a D.C.-based district court judge has also ruled against the tariffs, but he has stayed his ruling for 2 weeks to allow for an appeal of that decision.
We now head overseas as the desperation continues in Gaza as civilians try to get humanitarian aid that's trickling in. The White House says a ceasefire deal's been drafted and that Hamas has not responded to it just yet. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt at the White House press briefing today.
Special Envoy Witkoff and the president submitted a ceasefire proposal to Hamas that Israel backed and supported. Israel signed off on this proposal before it was sent to Hamas. I can also confirm that those discussions are continuing, and we hope that a ceasefire in Gaza will take place so we can return all of the hostages home, and that's been a priority from this administration from the beginning.
Out west, federal funding could be on the chopping block when a transgender athlete takes the field at a high school competition in Clovis, California this weekend. ABC's Alex Stone, he is in California.
This weekend, transgender student athlete A.B. Hernandez is set to participate in girls track and field at the state championships. It led to President Trump calling it unfair, the threat of federal funding being pulled, and U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley announcing a federal investigation.
Potentially file our own civil rights cases where appropriate.
One Republican Assembly member is offering a solution of creating an open division, not girls or boys, to solve the problem. Event organizers say they will award multiple medals in events that transgender athletes compete in.
Here in Middle Tennessee, a vehicle was used to ram into a Robertson County gun store early this morning. Police were called to the Guns and Leather store on Highway 41 around 5 o'clock this morning. Investigators believe a group of suspects used a vehicle to ram into the glass door at a high rate of speed and break into the shop. An officer was on patrol in the area, and he spotted what looked like a burglary in progress. According to Greenbrier police, 2 suspects were seen running out of the store with guns. One jumped into a vehicle that was waiting there and took off, while the other ran away on foot. Police followed the vehicle, but they lost it. It's believed between 4 to 6 AR-15 or AK-47 style rifles were taken. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives is assisting with that investigation. That is the latest news. We've got traffic, we've got weather, and they're next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. A new crash reported 8th Avenue South, just north of Kirkwood Avenue. The right lane remaining blocked due to a crash on the East Bank, 24 eastbound at the Shelby Avenue exit. Also working the crash 65 northbound at Armory Drive. Also 24 eastbound at Murfreesboro Road. That wreck's been there a while, but they're still working to clean it up. Also, the right shoulder block due to a crash in the Rivergate area, 65 northbound, right before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. We've got your traffic every 10 minutes every afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, it's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends and foes alike. My name is Matt Murphy. We have another hour to go, and we'll call it a Thursday. Head off to our Friday edition and hand off to Mark Levin. Thank you for being around with us. We appreciate you. Just a little bit of a follow-up before I get into a few other stories that I want to relate to you. Your telephone calls as well, 615-737-9986. By the way, I give those numbers often and as quickly as possible just to keep you on your toes. I apologize. I should slow down. 615-737-9986. Hit us up on the super text line or on the phone lines. Gentlemen, it's worse than imagined. At least as of some years ago, according to E, coffee isn't brewed on the plane.
Really?
It's worse. The coffee containers are refilled by catering, and those containers are never washed.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, fecal matter.
No.
And the like. So, I assume that then what we're seeing they're just heating it up in the pots, I would guess.
Yeah,
so
just
they're
a
not
warmer,
brewing it.
yeah.
It's just a warmer.
Yeah, like a hot plate or something.
Yeah. So there you go. So they're not even brewing it on the plane. So that allergy person doesn't have anything to worry about, I guess.
Well, I guess not.
I guess not. In the meantime, FBI Director Kash Patel is confirming that people will perhaps finally get a clear answer on whether FBI resources were on the ground on January 6th as the FBI relooks at that and other matters involving January 6th, to include the pipe bomber. Now, Dan Bongino had already told us on Fox News yesterday, and we had the clip for you, that we believe that we're getting closer than ever to identifying the individual responsible for the placement of the pipe bomb outside of the DNC headquarters. There was also placement, outside of the DNC, and I want to say the RNC too, but DNC certainly. That video was widely circulated, and it was amazing to most of us watching the aftermath of January 6th that the FBI and other federal authorities under Joe Biden seemed to be able to identify every single human being involved or in Washington, D.C. at the time, except for that person, which made little to no sense. In the meantime, Kash Patel says on Fox News that you're going to be a little bit surprised when you hear what they have uncovered regarding the aftermath of January 6th. Let's listen in.
People have had questions about January 6th and whether or not there were FBI sources, not agents, sources on the ground during January 6th. And I told you I would get you the definitive answer to that, and we have. And we are in the process, again, of working with our partners to divulge that information, and it is coming. And I will tell you this. The answer to that question will surprise and shock people because of what past FBI leaders have said about it.
Former FBI Director Chris Wray eventually admitted to Congress there were 26 FBI confidential human sources in around the Capitol January 6th, but not actual agents. Can you say that's true? Are there more than that? What you're learning from that?
I can say that that is definitely a piece of the truth. Why it took a ton of time for and questioning in Congress for the director to get that point is what I'm trying to eliminate from the FBI. If Congress asks you a question under oath, whether or not there were sources, in around January 6th at the Capitol, you as the director of the FBI need to know that and not deflect and give a D.C. answer. You have to be prepared for that. And that's the answer we're giving. That's the answer Chris Wray should have given.
And eventually everybody's going to know the whole picture.
I do find it, and I'm not knocking Kash Patel here, but Kash Patel says he knocks Christopher Wray, and rightly so, for deflecting, but I haven't heard a definitive answer from Kash Patel yet either. Right? So Kash Patel says that's what I'm trying to get rid of. If someone asks you a direct question about these matters, you ought to be able to have a direct answer. And Brett Baer, who's interviewing Kash Patel on Fox News, asks him a direct question. Is it accurate to say 26? He said, well, yeah, maybe, and maybe more, maybe not. We'll have the answers for you. And then he kind of deflects. Once again, trying to give Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and others the benefit of the doubt here.
Yeah, because the American people deserve that. And look, no one's more frustrated than me. Remember, I was chief of staff of the Department of Defense on January 6th. We said that we were ready, and the president had previously authorized the National Guard to be there days in advance. I spent 2 years, a small fortune, grand juries, to testify to the truth. And what happens now, years later? We were right. Bowser and Pelosi rejected that offer. And instead of figuring out how to prevent security lapses like that ever again, the American public spent tens of millions of dollars and countless hours on TV listening to conspiracy theories because those in positions of leadership failed to tell the American public the truth. But more
so that's, that's, half an answer is better than no answer at all, I would suppose. But Kash Patel informing the people of the United States of America through his interview with Brett Baer that there is more to come regarding the FBI and what they're trying to uncover concerning January 6th and other matters, saying that they're going to go into January 6th. They're going to talk about the pipe bomber. They're going to go into other aspects of the Biden administration and what they did or did not do, what they knew and did not know. And, to include cocaine in the White House. Is discovery on cocaine in the White House the most pressing matter for the FBI right now? No. But I do believe the FBI can walk down the street, chew bubble gum, and pat their heads at the same time. And I do believe it's important that the American people understand that there will be transparency with regard to their taxpayer dollars and exactly what is and is not going on. It is the height of ludicrousness to suggest that the FBI could not figure out whose cocaine that was, considering the amount of security at the White House. To tell me that you can't figure out whose cocaine was in the – they found cocaine in the White House, for goodness sake. 8695 says Kash Patel, and it's Patel. It's not hotel. I assume that was a autocorrect. Isn't going to burn down the FBI. I'm on record as saying that the FBI needs to be dismantled and recreated as something new. Kash Patel is not going there, but I will give him credit for this. I'm going to criticize when needed. Got to sneeze. Hold on a second. Excuse me.
Double, huh?
Man, yeah, I almost got you, too. I turned it back on prematurely. Pardon me. Thank you. Kash Patel is not going so far as to completely dismantle the FBI, but he is moving the FBI out of Washington, D.C., and I absolutely love it. Essentially closing down the J. Edgar Hoover building and saying that the FBI should not have the number of agents in Washington, D.C. that they currently have. Obviously, that Washington, D.C. needs to be their, if not their headquarters, there needs to be a bureau there, and it needs to be the most well-staffed bureau in the United States of America because there are the most assets to protect in Washington, D.C. That makes sense. But you should not have a third of the agency in Washington, D.C. or whatever the hell it is. And so he's moving a lot of these agencies out into the field or a lot of these departments out into the field, a lot of these agents out into the field, and that's a good thing. I think that's going to go a long way into bringing the FBI back to the people, which is what we need to see. At the same time, we're waiting and waiting and waiting. It's only been 4 months, and you kind of forgive the fact that it's only been 4 months in terms of Patel and Dan Bongino getting their feet underneath them at the FBI. Obviously, they're dealing with super sensitive, hypersensitive information, hypercritical information, hyperclassified information, and they cannot divulge some of that. Some of that information we overclassify way too much in the United States of America, but I appreciate that. In other news, Tennessee State Representative Afton Ben, who's been much discussed on this radio show. I've invited Afton on the show. You know, she appeared on the show once or twice and kind of ghosted us a little bit. But earlier this week, she joined other local elected leaders in a letter accusing President Donald Trump, the U.S. Department of Justice, and Republican officials across the country of, quote, attempting to intimidate local Democrats. Sent by the progressive activist organization Local Progress, the letter accuses Trump and other Republicans of attempting to intimidate Democrats through the criminal charges recently filed against U.S. Representative LaMonica McIver, who assaulted, allegedly, they say, but it's on video, federal law enforcement at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in New Jersey. Well, Afton Ben would certainly want to push back on this because Afton Ben has been credibly accused of violating the law with regard to ICE as well. In the letter, it also raises charges filed against Newark Mayor Ross Baraka, which have since been dropped. We will not be silenced or deterred by the Trump administration's attacks on our rights as elected representatives, they wrote, declaring we are outraged that Congressmember McIver is facing prosecution. It's amazing to me, the holier-than-thou attitude that these do-nothing Democrats have. Friends, because you are an elected representative, do you have an ability to conduct oversight into certain aspects of the federal branch? Of course you do. Do you have the ability just to waltz into a federal prison anytime you want? Of course not. Do you have the ability to waltz inside of a detention facility anytime you want? Of course not. And any reasonable person, absent the politicalization of this story, understands that. If you are a sane human being, you understand that just because you've got a little congressional badge on your chest, that does not give you the authority just to go anywhere and everywhere you want at any time you want. There are security concerns. And when this woman didn't get what she wanted to, she tried to bum rush the gate. She bulled her way into an ICE agent, and those ICE agents are going to charge her for that, and rightly so. You know, Jason is probably right. Jason says, you know, Bell was my producer during the midday, and Bell and Afton, I think Bell's got something on Afton because she'll still come on the midday show. See, you're not chummy enough with liberals, Weber. That's your problem.
Yeah.
Now Bell, on the other hand,
well, I mean, yeah.
Well, you know, we see how that goes. They should move the FBI headquarters to Nashville. They're moving a lot of agents to Huntsville. I think they said 1,500 additional agents are moving to Huntsville. I don't think Nashville has a bureau, right? I mean, I think Memphis does and Knoxville does. I don't think Nashville does. Larry says this was a private prison, quote unquote. Well, these were federal agents involved in the detention of these individuals, but I get what you're saying, certainly. 19 after the hour. Knoxville and Memphis, yeah?
Knoxville. I'm saying Columbia, Tennessee. What is that all about?
I don't know.
Some sort of Federal Bureau of Investigation building in Columbia.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, nothing in Nashville, though. So there you are. When we return, murky details on funding for the city of Nashville continues to lead folks to scratch their heads, and Riley Gaines has challenged a liberal to a swimming match. I'll tell you exactly what that's all about coming up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Y'all got bugs over there? You need to get rid of them. Those bugs are going to cause health concerns and health problems with you and the family. Plus, they're nasty, they're awful, and you need to get rid of them. U.S. Pest is your one-stop shop for all things pest control and pest protection in Middle Tennessee. You know, every home is threatened by termites. I don't talk about this enough, Preventative and corrective services are available with U.S. Pest. 100% money-back guarantee. Those termites, man, every home is threatened, and if your home gets eaten up by termites, it could be a costly enterprise to get it handled. Let's stop this before it starts with protection from U.S. Pest. Plus, full-service pest control, obviously 100% money-back guarantee there, too. All common Tennessee pests to include spiders and ticks and fire ants and the summertime bugs that we talk about from time to time. And then they have crawl space service as well. It's all available at U.S. Pest. I love J.K. and Erica Brister. I love the growth of this company. I love the fact that they love the United States of America. I say two things about them. They love the United States, and they hate bugs. And you benefit from both of those things. Go to uspest.com. That's uspest.com, or call 590-1260, 590-1260 for U.S. Pest.
Nerves on edge during today's graduation at Harvard, and you can probably guess why. We'll also have today's closing money news. That's all coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Jay Harper. Jay Harper in the newsroom in the absence of Ken Weaver. Ken back next week, and Jay will slide into the morning slot and take over for Joan Jones. She'll take a little vacay time. It's that time of year. All right. Riley Gaines, our own Riley Gaines. I have a frog in my throat. It's official. Stand by. Rare, but occasionally I have to utilize the cough button. Riley Gaines, our own Riley Gaines, has now clapped back at a particular leftist nut job, former ESPN and MSNBC host, Keith Olbermann, with an official challenge for charity This happening yesterday. We'll try to get Riley on the show maybe tomorrow or next week. So Oberman is just you guys think I'm angry. And I know I allow myself to get upset about, knuckleheads and leftists and whatnot. And that's a occupational hazard. Keith Oberman is just nutty and angry and just mad and yelling and screaming, "Oh, you got to be arrested." Oberman, who has been fired from every job he has had, to my knowledge, MSNBC, Keith Oberman was too insane for MSNBC. Just allow that to sink in. He was too narcissistic and insane for MSNBC, an organization that is defined by narcissism and insanity. Oberman was quoted on an X post of Education Secretary Linda McMahon telling Fox News America's reports that Gaines would have, quote, clearly won her race if she did not have to compete against a transgender swimmer. You might recall that Riley Gaines was bested by a man. Leah Thomas is what he calls himself. And Oberman posted to X, Riley Gaines finished 85th in the Olympic trials. She finished tied for 5th in the only race including a transgendered athlete. If there had been none, she might have finished tied for 4th or had 5th place to herself, he wrote. The 12-time National Collegiate Athletic Association All-American responded saying that she placed, she responded with truth, right? She noted that she placed 85th at the Olympic trials when she was 15 years old. That's one. I was one of the youngest there. I placed 5th in the nation in a sport measured in 100ths of a second without doing or without going a best. Would you say the 5th best college football player is objectively bad at their sport? No, of course you wouldn't. But then she went on to say this on the Gaines for Girls podcast that she hosts on Fox News Digital, that she is challenging Keith Oberman to a swimming race for charity. I think this is a great idea. The event would be a 200-yard freestyle at a location of Keith Oberman's choice sometime between or before August 31st of this year. The winner of the race will pick which charitable organization the proceeds would go to. The total wager will be donated, and it would be set if Oberman agrees. The 25-year-old University of Kentucky alum told Fox that Oberman, all right, so here's her bet. She's going to swim a 200 freestyle and let Oberman swim a 150-yard freestyle. So she's going to spot him 50 yards. She said she would do so if it incentivized him to compete in the charitable challenge. A spokesperson for Keith Oberman did not respond for comment. Imagine that. I think she could spot him 100 yards.
I was going to say, yeah, I was expecting it to be double. Yeah.
I think she could spot him half the race and still beat him. I mean, Keith Oberman is what? Mid-60s?
Yeah, I'd say that's
that'd be my guess, yeah.
And just angry.
I think he would have a very difficult time because he can't keep his mouth shut long enough.
Yeah, he'll drown in the first 25 yards.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Meantime, President Donald Trump blasted California Governor Gavin Newsom earlier this week as the California Interscholastic Federation cleared the way for transgender athletes to compete in a women's state championship. California, under the leadership of radical leftist Gavin Newscum, that's Trump's nickname for Newsom, continues to illegally allow men to play in women's sports. This week, a transitioned male athlete won everything at a major event and is now qualified to compete in the state finals. That's President Trump. He signed an executive order on February 5th in an effort to ban men from competing in women's sports. I applaud Riley Gaines, and hopefully this will go off, and we'll try to get her on the show to talk about it. It's 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
Good evening. It is 6:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A full forecast and a traffic report are on the way. Yep, it's graduation day at Harvard University, and the pomp and circumstance overshadowed by the current legal battle with the White House. A federal judge in Boston gave the Ivy League school a win today, extending a temporary order blocking the government's attempt to prevent international students from enrolling. Just before that hearing, the acting director of ICE issued a letter accusing the university of allowing anti-Semitism on campus and giving it 30 days to respond. That follows an announcement by Secretary of State Marco Rubio to more closely scrutinize the student visas of Chinese students, especially those that have ties to the Communist Party. Harvard student Funshu John is one semester away from receiving his master's degree at Harvard, and he tells ABC News about the general unease among many students.
Everybody is wondering the plan for next year, whether we should take a leave of absence, whether we should go back home and finish our semester online, or wait for more guidance from the administration at the school.
We now turn to today's closing money news. For that, here's Wayne Cabot.
Stocks post some modest gains today as confusion over the fate of President Trump's reciprocal tariffs loom large over investors. The tech-heavy NASDAQ also receiving a boost from strong earnings, including chipmaker NVIDIA reporting a 75-point gain. The Dow rising 117 points and the S&P posting a 23-point gain. President Trump met with Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell Thursday, with the White House later criticizing Powell on his decision to stand firm on lowering interest rates this summer. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called the decision a mistake and says it will put the U.S. at an economic disadvantage to China and other countries. JetBlue and United Airlines unveiling their new Blue Sky partnership that will allow customers from both airlines to apply for bonus miles and loyalty benefits between the two, including priority boarding, complimentary access to preferred seats, and same-day flight changes starting this fall.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News. On the East Bank, still working to clear this wreck. 24 eastbound at the Shelby Avenue exit. We've also picked up a crash on 440 westbound, approaching I-40 West, so that would be near exit 1, and the right shoulder block there, as well as part of the right lane. Also near Rivergate, 65 northbound before Vietnam Vets. We've got a crash there, as well as Dickerson Pike north of Briley Parkway and Nolensville Pike at Tusculum Road. A crash reported there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning and afternoon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN winding down a lively Thursday edition. Thanks to our guests. Representative Scott Sepiki was with us. Metro City Councilor David Benton was with us, and Senator Marsha Blackburn stopped by. Senator Blackburn and Councilor David Benton were on phone. Scott Sepiki in studio with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Don't forget about First Amendment Freestyle Friday tomorrow, to include Fried Jay. Obviously, in the 4 o'clock hour, we have Jay St. Clair with us, and he'll answer any and all of your legal questions, as he does on those Fridays, one of the most favorite segments on the Matt Murphy Show any given week. Also, don't forget about, I keep forgetting to mention, on June 17th, I'm excited about this because this represents the last official event I will do with my bum shoulder, right? So June 17th, Kings Bowl in Cool Springs, there at the mall. We'll be there. We want you to be there. I'll be doing the entire show from there. I'm going to lobby and do my best to get Chris Webber there as well. I don't know if I have that type of pull around here, but I'm going to do my best.
I don't think you have it.
Well, not if you're pulling the other way. I mean, I won't. But we'll be there. Chad Benson will be there, of course. Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, and many of the rest of the team. And we would love to see you too. It's my understanding that it's free to you, free to me. You can have drinks available for purchase, food available for purchase, of course. Heck, I'll even bowl with you if you want me to. That's my right arm, not the bum arm. But it is, it's in all seriousness, it's the last event that I'll be doing before my surgery on the 23rd of June. And then I'm kind of out of commission for 6 weeks. Whew. Off air for a week. I'm just letting you know because I don't want anybody mad at me. Off air for a week and then back on air for the following week from home. And that should be easy enough, one hopes. And then back here the following week if everything goes okay. Yeah. So, all right. But the bottom line, June 17th, mark your calendars. We'll start the show at 3 o'clock. The entire gang will join us. It's just kind of a mid-year. It's an excuse to get together is what it is. We love getting together with you. I absolutely adore getting out and about, doing the show out and about. I'm a masochist in that way, and I would love to see any and all of you at Kings Bowl on June 17th, starting at 3 p.m. That's when the show starts, and then the big event cranks up at 6 o'clock. Okay, we were telling you about NPR and their ridiculous lawsuit, and I actually said that I wanted to be a class action party to the lawsuit because I wanted a little of my money. They're arguing that their opinions on NPR are federally protected by the Constitution of the United States of America. And not just that, but that the federal government has to continue to subsidize those opinions through federal dollars. Well, it's that aspect of it that I want to talk to NPR about because I want a part of this, right? Well, the head of NPR recently appeared on some news outlet to defend herself. And she is, what is this lady's name? Hold on a second. I had it. NPR head. Catherine Marr is the head of NPR. She is the CEO and has been since January of 2024. So she had a few things to say about the lawsuit, one more ridiculous than the next. Let's listen, and I'm going to play a game of stop-start here where we start the conversation and stop when she says something so stupid that I have to make comment. Here's Catherine Marr explaining why you can't survive without being forced to send your hard-earned money to National Public Radio.
So how precisely does President Trump's executive order against NPR and PBS violate the First Amendment? What's the case that you're making against the Trump White House?
Well, it's interesting because the executive order is very specific in that it accuses NPR and PBS of not airing fair or unbiased news. And so it is a textbook example of viewpoint discrimination from a First Amendment standpoint. Essentially, by blocking funding to NPR and PBS, it is a form of retaliation against our organizations.
Okay, so let's stop right there. So her argument, or at least her explanation, is biased in and of itself. What the Trump administration is arguing is that if any organization, any news organization whatsoever, Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Cumulus Nashville, Public Radio, whatever, if you want to have a perspective on the news, you're well within your right. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. You've heard me argue about hashtag never CNN. I want CNN to go out of business because of a lack of viewership. But I would never suggest that the government put CNN out of business because of their political perspectives. I would never suggest that the government put the New York Times out of business because of their ridiculous leftist perspective. The New York Times is doing the job of that pretty good on their own, right? The Washington Post doing a pretty good job. Although I'll give Bezos credit. Bezos saw the light. Bezos said, we need to stop all of this ridiculousness on our editorial pages. It is hurting us. And he's actually benefited as a result of that. But the hashtag never CNNs of the world, they're doing a great job on their own. I would never suggest that they be put out of business, nor would I suggest that NPR should go out of business. The argument is and has always been that the tax-paying citizens who have differing viewpoints ought not to pay for a viewpoint that does not reflect their own. It is immoral at worst, or at least it is immoral, and at worst it is illegal to force the tax-paying citizens to subsidize a viewpoint that they do not share. Catherine Marr continues.
For airing editorial programming that the president might disagree with. We're a nonpartisan news organization. We seek to be able to provide a range of different viewpoints in terms of who we bring on air, the stories that we tell. We're buttresses.
Does anybody believe that NPR is nonpartisan? Anybody? I don't know of any leftist truth tellers, liberal truth tellers that would argue that NPR is nonpartisan. Honestly, if they're nonpartisan, I can point to you the left of center viewpoints. If they are nonpartisan and you see left of center viewpoints, then you would expect that you would also see right of center viewpoints. Well, I'm still waiting, and you don't see them. I think it was Representative Jim Jordan from Ohio pointed out that, like, out of 78, and I might have the numbers wrong here, but out of 78 editorialists or editorials, 75 of them were left. That doesn't happen by happenstance, friends. It is because they are most certainly biased. And everybody knows it.
In this effort by the fact that we have 200 local newsrooms across the country. So a significant portion of the reporting that you hear on NPR is not coming out of D.C. It's coming out of smaller stations in rural area. 20% of America.
Well, she makes that argument as if the people that they have employed are not leftist themselves. Just because they live in Peoria, Illinois, doesn't mean that they're not leftist. Just because they live in Seattle, Washington, or somewhere in California, or even in Nashville, Tennessee, does not mean that they're not left of center. This argument that because they are strategically, geographically located around the country somehow makes them fair and balanced, that's just stupid.
Americans today do not have access to a local newspaper or a source of news.
Wait, hold on. I want to make sure you hear this. I cut her off there.
20% of Americans today do not have access to
anything
out of smaller stations in rural area. 20% of Americans today do not have access to a local newspaper or a source of news.
Okay, first off, I would argue that the number of people that don't have access to a local newspaper is a hell of a lot more than 20%, lady. What are you even talking about, local newspaper? Guys, who picks up the newspaper? I mean, come on. Honestly, do you guys pick up the newspaper? You go down to the bottom of the driveway and every morning you pick up your copy of the good old Tennessean, do you? Come on. No, you don't. Newspapers are dead. I don't know what the woman's talking about. Now, where she gets the 20% figure is beyond me, except maybe she's applying the fact that most newspapers are dead because most people are getting their news from their phones. But this idea that people do not have access to the news, people have greater access to a variety of news sources in 2025 than ever in human history, ma'am. I just don't understand what you're talking about.
It's coming out of smaller stations in rural area. 20% of Americans today do not have access to a local newspaper or a source of news other than public media.
20% of Americans don't have access to a source of local news other than public media. That is absolute garbage. I mean, I don't even understand. You know, when I break these things down, and I try to break them down so you don't have to worry about it, I try to start with, okay, what are they trying to say? Where is the speaker coming from? Are you saying that? I don't even know what she's saying. 20% of Americans don't have access to local news outside of public radio. If you have access to public radio, you have access to the radio. If you have access to the radio, there are other radio stations on the radio. I would guarantee you that there is no place in America that you can pick up some jackass public radio station that you can't pick up a conservative news talk station. So that's just not true.
We take federal dollars very seriously, and we seek to maximize them by raising additional funds from private philanthropies, from
and viewers like you. Thank you.
Individual viewers and listeners. That's tremendous.
Sorry, she said that later. I got in front of her viewers like you line.
Them by raising additional funds from private philanthropies, from individual viewers and listeners. That's tremendously important to that promise that we have. But it is also the case that without federal funding, we would not have the universal access that public media affords today. We are free in every household in the nation, or 99.7%, which rounds up to 100%. That is something that nobody else offers, and we view that as a critical part of a functioning democracy for people to have access to news, information, educational, and cultural programs.
Okay, so you're free. You're not free in as much as the delivery system is not free. Let me break down the fallacy of her argument. What she's saying is that what they present over the air is free to you. Well, we are too. We're free to you, the consumer. That's what Catherine Marr is suggesting. Well, we're free. And so commercial radio is free too, except that you have to have what? A radio. You have to have a radio in your car. You have to have a home radio. You have to have some transmission device that receives said transmission. So in that respect, we are just as free as what she says she provides on public radio. Now, if she's talking about public television, well, you have to have a television. So that's not free to the end consumer, and anyone that has a television has access to local news in addition to the public broadcasting system. What this woman is saying is 100% untrue. There is no need any longer for public funding of what they present. If they want to continue their business model, they can continue their business model without forcing the taxpayers to subsidize it. And if their philanthropic efforts are so great, and if their donations from viewers like you are so robust, they can survive without the forced taxpayer money. Now, the fact of the matter is they can't, because they cannot compete in the arena of ideas. And NPR ultimately becomes a money laundering scheme, or at least an idea laundering scheme in that regard. Number two, there was a time when perhaps you could argue that NPR was necessary, because there was a time when major portions of the United States of America were not receiving solid news and information in the sense that she's talking about. Those times are gone. And oh, by the way, everybody always wants to bring up Sesame Street. You know what the free market does? You know what capitalism does? Capitalism bought Sesame Street and is now paying for Sesame Street in the form of Netflix, and then providing Sesame Street for free on PBS without the need for federal subsidy. So there you go. Catherine Marr, she should have been my nincompoop of the day. It's 52 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Have you noticed how unreliable things have gotten these days? Like when somebody tells you, oh, it'll be ready at 4 o'clock, and you get there at 4 o'clock and it's not ready. People are kind of tired of that stuff. Hey, it's Matt Murphy, and if you've had it with unreliable vehicle auto repair shops, I invite you to go to Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready. When you're ready for your vehicle and they're ready for you, they'll tell you that it's ready, and then you're ready and it's ready. And everybody's happy as a result. Plus, they stand by their work. Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without dealer pricing. Dealers, sadly, that most of everything in a dealership is paid for by the auto repair shop, that division of the dealership. Well, why are you paying for all of that? Why would you want to do that? At Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty, plus a free loaner car with every repair. Call ahead on those loaner cars. They're very, very popular. If you're tired of unreliable vehicle auto repair, come to where it's reliable. Come to Eurofix. For 26 years, family owned by Aaron Stokes. Eurofix, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. Winding down a pretty good Thursday, if I do say so myself. Once again, thanks to our guests, Senator Blackburn, Representative Scott Sepiki, and Councilor David Benton. Good conversations all. You can find those podcasts at 997WTN.com. By the way, speaking of podcasts, it came to my attention earlier today that our All the Best Words podcast I thought our podcast was up on the podcast page on the website. I've been directing people over there. Apparently, it's not been for the last at least several days, and so I apologize for that. You can find it on YouTube. It's there and available for you on the YouTubes. Just find Supertalk 99.7 WTN, like and subscribe our page, and you'll get all the best words. I think our next one comes out tomorrow night, if I'm not mistaken. We had one drop last night at 7 o'clock, and another one tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and then another one Monday. And so look forward to that. In the meantime, an alert listener noticed this, that Catherine Marr, as dumb as she is, she gave us a shout-out. Did you hear?
I did not.
Today, we are free in every household in the nation, or 99.7%, which rounds up to 100%.
Hey!
99.7.
99.7 rounds up to 100. Proof positive that 100% of the time we get it right every time. How about that? I like that. You know, Mark Levin's up next. He gets it right 100% of the time. And then Wilson's in for Mandis tomorrow morning. And I think Cameron's in for Chris. Chad's in for Chad. And Murphy's in for Murphy. And Chris is here the whole time. Or at least some of that time. Until next time, have a great evening, folks. Hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.